time to get a party together.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. That's all. That's all we got to say. It's time to get the party together.
That's it. That's the podcast. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. We're gonna get a party together, and good night.
Yay!
We'll see you next week. No, we gotta get a party together. We gotta get the group all ready to go and fight some dudes. Fight some folks in the streets. In the streets, underground, in a building, on a roof, wherever the fights may lead.
That's a good way to put that.
It really is. I am poetic at times.
It is true. You are. Congrats.
Hello, welcome to this week's episode of the Seasonal Anime Checkup OVA. It's a podcast where we have conversations about video games, anime, and manga. Hello, I'm Jared, joined as always by Doc Al and Ladium.
Hello.
And we got a new game to talk about this week.
Mm-hmm.
The latest iteration in the Yakuza series, the eighth Yakuza game, which is also titled Yakuza 7.
Yeah.
Except not here, which is after you've seen the end of this game.
Yes.
Or at least like the back half of this game.
Yes.
That seems like a mistake not to call this Yakuza 7 here in the United States.
Yes, I agree with you.
It's a real weird, I think, a flaw in the way they title this game. Also, this game, with the way they titled it in English, which is called Yakuza Like a Dragon, is Yakuza Ryogo Gotaku, which is just the same name of the game. It's basically if you called the game Yakuza.
Yakuza.
Because Like a Dragon is the Japanese titling for the series.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well. Good. Somebody clearly was paying attention when they named this game.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. But yeah, Yakuza 7's out.
It is.
And I played all of it.
I didn't.
You watched a good bit of it though.
I did.
I had to fill you in on a lot of stuff that happened because you were like, let's watch this game, and it was like I'm in chapter like 11 or 12. We're in near the end game.
Yeah, but like,
I mean, you kind of got the gist of like what was going on, so you're gonna hear about what happened in the earlier chapters and be like, and get to learn like, oh, this happened. Get some connections that form.
Whoop whoop.
Yes, we're also going to go. We're going to be like juggalos and go whoop whoop.
No, not like that. Yucky.
Yeah, this is the latest Yakuza game. It is the first non-Kiryu led Yakuza game. It is the first breaking of the Kiryu story. Also, the first Yakuza game to be a Japanese role-playing game.
Yep. That's the part that's really significant.
That is the big change here. You might remember there was like a couple years ago where they put out a video that was Yakuza, but what if it was a JRPG? And a lot of people were like reacted very positively to that. So they were like, "Oh, what if we just do this? What if we just make that the game?" And then that's what they did. They made that the game. So yeah, I mean it is a JRPG through and through, but
yes.
Like it still has a lot of like the dramatic melodrama that the Yakuza series is known for. Like this is very much still a crime drama.
That's why Loki liked it so much.
Exactly. It has all the wacky like side stories that you want. It has all the weird mini game type stuff that you would want from a Yakuza game. Like basically everything that you would think of a Yakuza game is here. It's just the battle system's different.
Mm-hmm.
Easy way to explain it.
Which I personally would find more accessible because I would understand how to play it better. But
totally, yeah, I think that it's definitely like not like a weird JRPG system. Like it's very basic. Like if you've played a JRPG, you can understand how to play this game.
I mean, I'm better at.
Totally. Like it has just like normal attacks. You have special skills. You have summons, which are all very good. Very good.
We'll talk about that.
You can swap party members on the fly if you need to. So like it is a good JRPG, and also like characters level up, or when they level up, they get heals.
Mm-hmm.
They're healed and SP, or MP gauges filled up, which means again it's a good JRPG.
Yep.
It's the mark of those. But yeah,
I mean,
like
to be fair, Shadow Hearts does not have that, and it's a great RPG. So.
it is a lesser RPG because of it, though.
Ooh.
Look, if it's the one knock against that game.
Okay.
If it let you refill your health and stuff, it would be a 20 out of 10. But now it's 19 out of 10. But yeah, I want to talk a little bit like non-spoilery stuff first before we dive into the story, because oh my god, there's a lot of story in this game.
Yeah.
There are times where you're just watching cutscenes like it's a Metal Gear game.
Yeah.
But like also I'm just like into that sort of thing, so like that is not a bother to me.
But also, it's not stupid.
No, well, depends on what your definition of stupid is. So yeah, like
We're gonna say it's not pretentious. How about that?
Sure.
This game does not take itself seriously.
Yes and no.
It does at points, but at other points it does not.
True. I think they switched over to JRPG, like that whole system, like it works very well in a surprising way, considering the last 7 games have been beat 'em up games and all that. It's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. Like it's very much, you can tell this is a first attempt at doing this. Like they have there's a job system in this game, obviously, which they've shown off in trailers and all that sort of stuff, so it's not really a spoiler. But like, I don't think the job system was all that necessary, because the problem I think with the job system is that it takes so long to level up a job.
Yeah.
That I feel like it would be a hindrance if you wanted to like switch jobs later on in order to like really try and get like all the skills that you wanted to on specific characters and all that sort of stuff. So like, I feel like by the time you're like that far into the game, you're just going to be like, I have this one job and I'm just going to stick with it.
Yeah.
That's the way I'm going to play this game. So like it gives you interesting like ideas for character skills and like builds and all that sort of stuff. But like, I think at the end of the day, it's like not the most necessary thing in the world to include. Which isn't to say it's bad or anything. It's just, it's not, I don't think, as well implemented as it really could be. Like, a lot of this game is very much just like, hey, we are referencing Dragon Quest to the point where we are talking about Dragon Quest in the game. I don't know how much of like a job system thing is like a Dragon Quest thing or not. Like the only Dragon Quest game I've played is Dragon Warrior.
Dragon Warrior, yeah.
And I don't think there was a job system in that game.
There was not.
So I don't know how wild and crazy they've gone in the 9 iterations since then. So I don't know if that's a thing or not, but regardless, like I think it's a thing you could improve upon or iterate on in a sequel if you decided to do another JRPG Yakuza game. Like I think the director of these games have said like, hey, if people react positively to this and are just like banging on our doors telling us to go back to the old system, we will probably just make another JRPG then.
Nice.
If we do that. Like I think it would be interesting if like if the Yakuza series, if like with this new story and everything, just stayed as a JRPG, and then you could do like side games like Judgment or whatever spin-off game you want to do as like the beat 'em up game.
Yeah. And I mean, especially if you're sticking with this character.
Yes.
Because like, if I'm not mistaken, like this is how he's imagining things.
Totally, yeah.
Going down. So like it would make sense to stick with that style if you're sticking with him.
Yeah, like a lot of the plot point or like the reason for like why this game is a turn-based game is because of the way Ichiban views himself, views like people he's fighting against as like enemies in a JRPG. Like he views like he like talks about like, oh well, now you're in my party now, so it's all cool. And everyone's just like, what are you talking about? Like there's a reason why like when you get into fights, like enemies transform, is because like that's just the way he views people. And he'll talk about like, yeah, did you see those guys transform at all? And they're like, no. What are you talking about?
Man, our outfits all changed.
Yeah. So I think like that's, yeah, I agree with you on that. That like it would make sense if like they're going to stick with Ichiban for a potential sequel and anything. Like it would make sense to stay with the JRPG style.
I relate to this because I also make jokes about life being a JRPG.
Yeah.
Like you're a member of my party. Just so you know.
You just don't have a cool back tattoo.
I have two back tattoos.
A giant back tattoo, I should say. Because you do have back tattoos. You just don't have like a giant one covering your whole back.
And it's not a dragon or anything related to a dragon.
And you're not just like whipping off 3 sets of clothes to show it off.
No, I cannot touch my shoulder and somehow rip off all of my upper clothing, which I think would probably get me arrested.
True.
But yeah, I do not have that capability. I tried earlier and it did not work.
Unfortunate.
Tragic.
There's a lot of mini games in this game. There's a mini game where you go around and collect cans around the homeless encampment. You have to fight off other homeless people to get cans, which is a little weird.
Don't fight the homeless people.
They're trying to steal your cans.
Yeah, but like they probably need it more than you do.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You were not wrong. Some of the ways like this game is weird sometimes about its politics, where like I feel like at times it's like really like going to bat for homeless people, for like sex workers, where it's like, you know, here are people who are like looked down upon in society, and like why are we doing that?
And
but
vulnerable.
And vulnerable. Like in the main story, like there's a lot of that, but then also they'll be like, here now you're fighting hungry hobo.
Oh no!
And it's just like that's a weird
Yikes.
weird dichotomy of what you're trying to say here.
Yeah. Yikes.
So like there's a lot of weird stuff like that, and also there's like, you know, there's a point earlier in the game where like you end up in a homeless encampment and you're like broke and everything, and then like 2 hours later you're running a business.
You're a billionaire.
Yeah, and it's like there's a lot of like weird aspects of that like feel like they just don't mesh with like what with the main story that the game's trying to tell you. Specifically because like later on in the game, like there'll be instances where Ichiban's like, oh, I don't have enough money to do this, and it's like, no, you totally do.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about? Like, this doesn't make any sense. So like,
I mean, to be fair, I say like I don't have money to do things, and I definitely have like a nice relative. Like I'm very much like lower middle class. My savings is like a little bit of a cushion, but
well, this would be even more egregious than what probably yours would be.
Yes, I agree, because
So-
I've seen your bank account in this game.
Yeah. So like it's very weird in aspect. Like I feel like it's very just like counterintuitive to what the game really wants to tell you.
Yeah.
So like there's just weird aspects of that like I feel like just don't work. And it's a shame because like I feel like with what the story tells you, like that's not what the game should be presenting you. So it's very weird in that aspect. Yeah, there's a management sim type aspect of the game where you run businesses, kind of similar to the Yakuza 0 one they put in. You can play arcade games, obviously, because this is it's a Yakuza game, so you can play Virtua Fighter 5 in the year 2000. It's just not really how that's supposed to work.
Nope.
But it is a thing you can do. What else? There is a Mario Kart ripoff called Dragon Kart.
Yep, it is definitely Mario Kart.
It definitely is.
You so excited for it though?
It works, obviously. I think the AI in it sometimes is kind of dumb.
Yeah.
But it is a kart racer that you can play in a Yakuza game. It's totally a thing you can do. I'm trying to think of anything else like weird that's in here. There's like there's like this hero app that you can go around and like help people that gives you like a little like access to a few more like smaller side quest opportunities and everything, but that's also where like you hide like the challenge log and all that sort of stuff that's usually prominent throughout most of the other Yakuza games as well. If you've played a Yakuza game or you've heard of these games, like you know that there's going to be a lot of just like weird side stuff that'll be permeating throughout the entirety of the game that you can do, like, you know, when you're not mainlining the main quest and everything. So it's just a lot of just like doing the main story, and then I guess I'm just hanging out with my friends. I guess that actually that's a good transition, because like there is a good like bonding little sub stories within your party that you'll be able to have with every party member that you bring in, which is kind of an extension of the friend system from Yakuza 6, where in Yakuza 6 you got to go to this one bar and chat with people and like learn about them and like gain your friendship up with them as you would like just drink in the bar and all this sort of stuff. So like this is a kind of an extension of that, where like every member of your party you'll have like little interactions with. You have like a one little dialogue tree choice that you can have that ups one of your skills, and then eventually they just have like a specific story route that they go down that you have to help them out with and figure out a problem that they have or fight some dude for them or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Usually you got to fight someone because that's how these things sort of go. So like I think that's a fun little thing to include, and it also gives you a chance to like kind of flesh out some of the other characters in your party that you might not be able to see in like the main story or anything like that. So it's a good little thing like that. Karaoke is in there obviously. It's a lot of like more like classic Yakuza songs that they've like redone and remade for like the other characters to sing.
Yeah.
And also they redid all those in English, which is wild to think about.
That is super wild.
Yeah. So like that's all in there, and then you can also like find random CDs from like of songs that are from like older Yakuza games as well, and then also just like random songs from the library of Sega games.
Yes.
So there's obviously the one song you should always play in the bar, which is the theme to Daytona USA.
Yes, which you did every time that I got
Absolutely.
to see
And then there's like a bunch of other stuff. Like there's songs from like Phantasy Star Online 2, from like Nights into Dreams, from Sonic Adventure, but it's not the Sonic Adventure song you want.
it. Tragic.
Which is real weird. Some other stuff in there, I think like Border Break, which is like a free-to-play game that came out on PS4 and PC, I think. And then also there's songs from Persona 5 in that game.
Yep.
Which is weird. I mean, hey, the soundtrack to Persona 5 is like the one good thing about Persona 5, so like I'm okay
No,
with that.
I agree with you. It's just
It's also like weird instrumental versions of all the songs, so like that's the a little bit of a strange part as well.
what? I didn't realize that.
So like that's weird.
Huh.
But yeah, like that's a cool little fun thing you can do. There's crafting in this game now, so you can like craft weapons and armor and everything, and you can also craft like items and stuff for like battle items, healing, stuff like that, and also like gift items you can give to people and everything. I think that's basically kind of like the easy rundown of this game. Like it's I like this game a lot. I don't know if I'm surprised by that or not, but like this game, for being the first game that's not just like a Kiryu led game and everything, like it's really good. I think a lot of that hinges upon that Ichiban is such a different character from Kiryu, where Kiryu is like, you know, he's the straight guy where like he's very serious and everything. Like he'll do some wacky stuff here or there, or wacky stuff will come to him, but he's like the kind of guy who doesn't really like show emotion a whole lot.
Yeah.
So like he's the prototypical tough guy, but with like somewhat of like a heart of gold type protagonist that you've seen in all sorts of media. Whereas Ichiban's like, he's got big Goku energy is kind of a phrase I've seen kicked around, where like he's a big dumb.
He is.
With a big heart of gold.
Heart of gold.
He wants to, do right by all of his friends. He wants to make sure they're all okay regardless of the situation and everything. And he'll do whatever is in his power to achieve that. And like he's loyal to the end. Like he is ride or die, like legitimately.
Real ride or die. And also, like one thing we'll probably talk about more when we get into spoilers, but he expresses himself a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it is a positive or negative emotion he's feeling, he lets you know what he's feeling. And that's really cool because you don't always see that with like tough guy type characters.
Totally.
Like, if he's sad, if he's mad, if he's happy, like he lets you know.
Yeah. And I think it helps as well that you have like just like this crew around you that he's able to like bounce off of like all the time. So like it helps like, see more of that character and everything, but also like him being around like opens up just like, more avenues and more opportunities for like the other characters to show off and showcase themselves as well. So like I think it really helps that like, that Ichiban is the way he is, and also like he has this ensemble cast around him that, they're able to bounce off of each other and be able to open up themselves in ways that you don't really see as well in like just single Yakuza games per se. Like you'll see it over the course of games, as time progresses and everything, but like not really in the same vein as like just one game in particular.
Yeah. I don't know Kiryu obviously, but I will say from what I saw of you play this game, I really like Ichiban.
Mm-hmm.
Like I really, really liked him.
He's really good.
He's a very likable guy.
Totally.
Even though he has stupid hair.
Yeah. But like I think they do a really good job of like, this is a different character from Kiryu.
Yeah.
And you basically understand that from the start. But yeah, let's see how we're 20 minutes in. You want to talk about some spoilers?
Yeah, before we get into spoilers, I'm going to say one thing that is probably going to be talked about later, but also the fact that there is a Korean drama reference in this is fantastic.
It's really good.
Just
Also,
super
I want to
fantastic.
make mention that this game is fully English dubbed
Yes.
for the first time since Yakuza 1
Wow.
that a Yakuza game's been fully English dubbed. So you can play it in English or Japanese. I played it in Japanese because of reasons we will talk about later on. I've seen some of the English dub, and some of it I've been like, that seems like a very odd casting to like, oh, that, that fits.
Yeah.
I think Ichiban's voice actor does a good job. I think George Takei as Masami does a really good job in that role. The dude they get to play Nanba, I don't think fits because like he voices that character like very very deep, and like it does not fit that character really in the slightest. And then there is a spoilery character that Matt Mercer plays that Matt Mercer is great. Like no, there's no doubt about that. But like he just does not. It's not a good like cast for him.
Yeah.
In terms of like playing that character or anything. But we'll get to that I think when stuff happens. But yeah.
One thing that I think is worth mentioning though, just because I mentioned it to you when we were talking about this originally, and I think it's hilarious. But Ichiban's English voice actor, he's also the voice actor for Gaius in Trails of Cold Steel, and that's just hilarious to me. It's real good.
Yeah, and also like they do like there is definitely like some script changes to if you're playing in the English dub or in the Japanese dub. So there will be some instances of things being said differently or just like talked about differently. And then there's like a specific side quest where like they changed a little bit in the English dub to where like there's a foreigner who comes up to you and speaks to you in English where he's just like, "Can you tell me where the train station is?" Just in perfect English. And Ichiban in Japanese it's like, "Oh crap, I don't know English that well. What do I do?" And then in the English dub, he kind of says the same line, but then subtly looks right into the camera, acknowledging the fact that they're speaking English to each other.
Good.
That was a thing that like Sega of America was like they had the Japanese team like insert that little model movement and like look at the camera because they're like, we need to have this as the joke because the ridiculousness of them speaking English to each other when that's not how this would really be.
Right.
So like that's a cool thing that they included in everything. Also goofy that when you're in a fight, it has the battle menu. It's like triangle is skills, circle is something. Regardless, like the four buttons, they say Sega. And they didn't say Sega at first. Like I think the etc. button was like something else, but then someone was like, "Hey, what if you changed that button to like an E word so it's the radio would say Sega?" And then they were like, "Oh, we should do that. Let's do that."
Oh my god.
It's very good.
I haven't heard it, but also like Robbie Damon as Zhao is interesting choice.
Yeah, I didn't get to hear that part first at all.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this story because there's a lot to the story, and I'm going to be reading from this Yakuza Wiki page that has like full breakdown of each chapter. So I'm going to like brush through these to really get to the meat and potatoes of it.
Okay.
So this game begins in the past, in like the 70s. You see like this play going on. There's characters on stage. There's the main character is like a geisha girl essentially done up like that. The star of the play and everything. They do the play, do all that sort of yada yada yada. They go backstage, and they're all like getting all done and everything. The main character's mom shows up and is like real angry and is like, "Oh, you think just because you're popular now you don't have to do the grunt work of everything?" And then just leaves off with their lover. Main character's dad shows up and is like, "Yeah, you did good today. You want to go get food after this?" So they leave to go get food. By the way, the kid here is Masami Arakawa, who we will learn about in a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So it's him and his dad. They're going off to go to the Chinese restaurant. They're going to get Peking duck because he's like, oh, the duck's great. We should get duck because it's our last our last day in this town. So they're getting ready they're eating like the appetizers and everything. Masami goes to the bathroom while this is happening. So he goes to the bathroom. He passes the waiter bringing in the duck, obviously, to the room. While all that's happening, we see in the room the waiter pulls off there's a plate and then the cover thing on it.
The coach.
Yeah, exactly, that thing. Pulls it off. It's a gun.
Ah!
So like while Masami's in the bathroom, his dad just gets shot in the head. He comes back and then he's like, Dad, what's wrong? Hey. Shakes him and then his head just like flings backwards and you just see the bullet in his head.
Yikes.
Fast forward to New Year's Eve 2000. And Masami's now in his office. He's a leader. He's the patriarch of a Yakuza family now. Just, reminiscing about life and everything. He yells for Ichiban, but Ichi's not there. Masami's captain, Joe Sawashiro, is there. And he's like, no, I sent him off to go get collections. He's off doing that thing. So then that's when we cut to Ichiban, and he's off doing his thing. He's chasing down a dude who was selling animal porn to kids, labeling it as pornography. Uncensored
Yikes.
Porn, to be exact.
Yikes.
Beats him up. And then he's like, hey, his friend Matsuo shows up, and is like, all right, we got the money, eh? And he's like, no, you should go give this money back to the kids. Because they got scammed and everything. And Matsuo, who Ichiban calls Mitsu, is like, what do you mean? Why would you do that? And Ichiban's like, that's what we should do. Other stuff happens. You kind of go around to the various places in Kamurocho, where you just see like a bunch of people just know who you are and everything, and are just like wanting you to help with like menial tasks and all this sort of stuff. Eventually, Mitsu shows back up and is like, hey, we got to go get this guy who's like late on his loan payments and everything. So you have to go fight him, but it's a dude like you knew growing up. And you fight him and beat him up, and then Ichiban's like, all right, I guess we'll take your wallet now because we totally got the money. And Mitsu's like, why didn't we take the money from him? And Ichiban's like, he even if he's late, he'll be good for it. It's like, do not worry about this. Like, I know this guy, I know his character. He's going to pay us regardless. Just if he's late, he's probably got other stuff to deal with. But we got his wallet. We'll just say we got his wallet. And oh no, we didn't got the money. Whoa. While this is happening, he gets a call from Sawashiro, who's like, why aren't you with the young master? Where have you been? And Ichiban's like, oh crap, I gotta go. So he goes to this like giant apartment complex. He finds the young master, who is Masato Arakawa, who is Masami's son. He's in a wheelchair because of health issues and everything. So he needs like assistance getting around and all this sort of stuff. He is having Ichiban take him to this hostess club because it's his lady's birthday.
Oh, snap.
And he's got her a gift, and he's like, did you get her a gift? And Ichiban's like, I got her something, but it's not good because I don't make that much money, but I mean, it's fine. I got her something. They roll up to the hostess club, and Masato's like, hey, let's hang out here for a second. I don't want to go in quite yet. And Ichiban's like, okay, I guess. Let's hide in this alley for a second. Masato pulls out like this injection pen and just shanks himself right in the chest. And Ichiban's like, whoa, what are you doing? And he's just like, this is medicine I got. It'll help me not look like a fool, not look like I'm in a wheelchair. It'll make me feel like I'm confident for a couple hours. So they go into the hostess club. He walks in. Everyone's just like, wait a minute. How are you walking in here? They go to their seat. They're waiting for the lady to show up, and the lady doesn't show up. So he's like, Ichiban, go find the girl. Bring her over here. So Ichiban has to go find the girl and everything. He eventually finds her in this one booth with this older dude. And Ichiban's like, I gotta bring this girl with me. And the dude's like, what do you mean? I was here first. Why wouldn't that be a thing? Masato also shows up and is like, hey, if we, we're gonna have drinks and everything. If you want me to pay for your drink, I could do that. And this guy's like, yeah, I can't really do that. Let me show you my business card and let me show you why. Where I'm like one of the bigs in the Tokyo Police Department. And they're like, oh. He's like, yeah, so I can't really even give you this card because I have to be very selective about who I give my business card to. But then he lets the girl go off because they're just bugging him. So They do the gifts exchange and everything. Ichiban gives her like a handkerchief, and the other
He did
girls
his best.
make fun of him because they're like, "Oh, my mom has that."
Oh, he did his
He
best.
did. Masato gives her like this giant, not giant, but like a very fancy watch. And he's like, "Yeah, that costs about as much as like a nice condo." Which maybe next time that's the gift I'll give you. She's like, oh yeah. And then some time passes and Ichiban's in the bathroom taking a poop. And he's just like sitting there, and then he hears a conversation between the girl and the cop, and the girl's like, "Yo, I have to get rid of this guy. Like, he is creeping me out. He said he's gonna buy me a house, and like I can't deal with this anymore. Like this is too much."
How in the world can he hear all this while he's pooping?
Because they're
Like,
in the bathroom.
Oh, they're in the men's bathroom?
Yeah, they're in the bathroom.
Oh, I mean, how are you having a serious conversation like this when someone's pooping next to you?
They didn't know he was in there.
You wouldn't smell the poop?
I don't know. So he sits there for a bit and walks out eventually, and he's like, "Oh God, I can't believe I heard that." And then also Masato's like around the corner, just very disheveled looking, and he's like, "Oh crap, did you also hear that?" And Masato's like, "Here's the money for the night." Just throws like the bag at him. And is like, pay for the drinks and everything. Rest of it you can just wipe your ass with it. I don't care. I'm leaving.
Maybe literally, you just took a poop.
I mean, literally could have. So Masato leaves. Ichiban pays for everything. Then it goes back to the Arakawa office. He brings the money that he just took money from the kid from Masato and just was like, use that as the collections money. And then Sawashiro's like, I know this is the bank from Masato's bank. Why do you have the young master's money? What are you trying to pull here? Like, what are you doing? And Ichiban's like, And then Sawashiro's like, all right, get the knife. Get the board and the knife. And they're going to cut off his pinky.
Ah!
So they're getting ready to cut off his pinky, and then Masami Arakawa shows up, the head man, and he's like, Ichiban, come into the office with me. And that saves him from getting his pinky cut off.
Oh, thank God.
So Arakawa's like takes Ichiban, they have a little talk, and then they were going to go out for dinner. Over this time, Arakawa kind of like talks about his backstory and everything, like, you know, what led him up to this point, where he discusses how in his former family, before he had his own family, the patriarch of the family like tagged him as like, hey, you're going to marry my daughter. And he was like, that's a big honor for me and everything. Like, that's neat. But also, like, I have this other girl that I'm in love with. Like, that's a problem. And then, you know, push comes to shove where, like, I put off telling the boss about this, so it's very bad, to the point where, oh, no, my lover's having a kid, and she's getting ready to pop that kid out. So that happens, and then the family finds out, and they're like, okay, well, we got to kill the girl and the kid. Because you did this. Also, we're going to mess you up as well. So he's on the run. He tried to have the two of them meet in a cafe, but he gets a call from her and is like, yeah, they're on the way. I'm in the hospital. I have to leave. If anything bad happens, I'm going to dump the kid or leave the kid in a coin locker, find the kid, and get out of here. So, like, that's the plan going in. He's about to, like, leave the cafe, and he gets stopped by some of the family, and they rough him up a bit, but he's able to get away and head to the coin lockers, where he's like, I don't know what locker it is. I got to figure out where's the kid at. Did the kid get dumped here or anything? What's happening? Eventually, he hears a baby crying. Mm-hmm. So, like, and he's, like, trying to open it up because the locker's locked. So he just starts punching the locker open until his, like, fist is all bloody, and there's blood all over the locker. But eventually, he pops it open, and he grabs the kid, and he's like, oh, my God, this is my kid. This is my kid. And he, like, holds it up to make sure it's breathing and everything's like, oh, crap, oh, crap, I have to go. Get out of my way, people. I have to get to the hospital real quick. So he tells all that to Ichiban and everything, and then he's like, yeah, I never saw the girl again. I'm guessing she got caught and they killed her. The kid obviously was Masato. We had to take, he had the health conditions is because he was out in the cold too long. So some of his organs like failed because of hypothermia.
Yikes.
So that's why he's stuck to the wheelchair now and everything. But yeah, hey, you want to go get Peking duck? So they try and go, but like the one restaurant that's in Kamurocho that sells it was closed because it's New Year's Eve. They're like, oh, and Ichiban like yells at a sign. He's like, "Give us the duck." And they're like, and Arakawa's like, "You can't just yell at a sign like that. What are you doing?" Some other stuff happens, and then they go their separate ways for New Year's. Ichiban wakes up the next morning, or he spends New Year's Eve like on a bench in a park, just drinking beer, watching the fireworks, and then he passes out, and then wakes up when a cop wakes him up and is like, "Hey, don't sleep on the bench, dummy. Also, where's your identification?" He's like, "Oh no, my wallet." He's like, cop's like, "Yeah, you should probably have some identification or something, because like some bad stuff happened last night." And he gets a phone call from Arakawa, who's like, "You need to come to the office right away." And Ichiban's like, "Okay, cool." So he gets to the office, and Arakawa's like, "So we found out this other family in the Tojo clan is maybe defecting to the Omi Alliance. Also, Captain Sawashiro murdered a dude connected to that family last night. We tried to get it like swept under the rug, can't, because this dude was kind of high up in the Tojo clan. And we can't really have Sawashiro going to jail because of this. Would you mind taking the fall for this and going to jail?" And Ichiban's like, "Yes, I will totally do this. I've been wanting to pay you back and everything. I will do this for you. Like, this is what I've been wanting to do." So he agrees to it. He goes to a beef bowl place, eats some food, and then he's gonna walks himself in the jail. I don't know if it talks about this in the first chapter or not, but the reason Ichiban's like so loyal and everything, this might happen like in the next chapter, but it's regardless, is because like he was like, Ichiban's story is that he was born in a soapland, doesn't have any parents. His mom walked out, and his dad was never around, obviously. So he was like raised by the people in the soapland, just raised by people out on the streets and everything, and that's how he learned to live. So like obviously he kind of dropped out of school very early on, started just like kind of just doing petty criminal stuff, eventually beat up a dude that was tied to the Yakuza, and that was a bad thing. The rest of the Yakuza family came and found him and started roughing him up and was like, whose family are you connected to and everything. And he spouts off the Arakawa family because he heard of that family. He was like, "Oh, they'll probably get scared of this and everything." Bad thing is, though, that this family that he beat up, or the dude that was connected to him, is like at war with the Arakawa family. So they're like, "Oh, okay, we're just going to beat you up even more."
Yikes.
So they call Arakawa up and are like, "Yeah, we got one of your dudes over here. Come get him." Arakawa like shows up and is like, This is how you treat people, huh?" And they're like, "Yeah, look at this punk kid. Is this yours?" He like looks at Ichiban and is like, "Okay, what do we need to settle this?" Pulls out the board and knife, cuts his pinky off, and is like, "All right, kid, come on."
What?
Ichiban's like, "What?" Ichiban's
What?
like, "Yeah, that Arakawa is a tough old man."
Jesus.
Ichiban's like, "Oh my god, thank you so much." And then Arakawa just like punches him in the face and is like, "I didn't do that just because of trying to save you. I just didn't want to see some dumb punk kid get murdered because of something stupid." So Ichiban basically just makes it his life work to basically work under Arakawa because of this, and like he's like always waiting outside their office and everything. He's like, "Oh, thank you for good job, boss," and everything. And then eventually, like Arakawa's like, "You realize that like the Yakuza is not a thing you want to be in, right? Like, go home to your family." And Ichiban's like, "I don't have anyone else.
Go home and be a family man."
I can't really do that." And then Arakawa's just like, "All right, I guess you're in the family now." So yeah, next chapter begins and Ichiban's in jail because he gets 18 years for the murder of this dude. He's just trying to be the upstanding prisoner, just not getting in trouble or anything. Some dudes like mess with him and are like, "Oh man, the Arakawa family, they suck, they're trash." So Ichiban beats him up. He gets put in solitary and then gets his sentence extended for 2 more years.
Well,
in 2017, as we fast forward, he finally gets a letter in prison from Arakawa, who's like, "If things hadn't gone the way they did, we would be celebrating your release right now. It'd be all great. Hopefully we'll be able to do this in 2 years when you're finally released and everything's all hunky-dory." And Ichiban's like, "Yay! This is going to be great!" Fast forward to 2019, Ichiban gets out of jail. He's super excited to be out, except no one's there for him. No one has showed up for him.
Oh.
It's empty. Except there's this one dude who's like, "Hello, I'm a member of the Kanagawa police. I got an agenda with you. I got something to deal with you." And Ichimon's like, "I don't really have time to deal with this. I gotta go talk to some people. Bye." So Ichiban gets a haircut, but the lady was like didn't understand how to do the haircut he wants, so that's why he has the hair he has.
Mm-hmm.
He goes to the grave of the person that died and cleans it as like a way to give penance and everything. And the cop that's with him is like, "Did you really kill this person?" And Ichiban's like, "Yep, totally did. That was me." While they're there, Ichiban sees the Arakawa family and Arakawa show up. They're visiting a grave, and he's like, "Oh, hello!" But no one speaks to him. And the members that are with him are like, "Who are you? Get away! Why are you here? Get out of here!" So he gets ignored and everything, and then the guy that's with him, which is Adachi, tells him like, "Yeah, did you not know that the Arakawa family is like they're in the Omi Alliance now? Arakawa was like second in command of the Omi Alliance right now. Like they defected from the Tojo clan a couple of years ago." And Ichimon's like, "What do you mean? No, that definitely didn't happen. Totally didn't happen. I don't know what you're talking about. They would never do that." So we learn about the Kamurocho 3K plan, which is basically like this huge crackdown on the Yakuza and Kamurocho. That effectively essentially pushed the Tojo clan out of Kamurocho. And then while that happened, the reason that happened is because the Arakawa family kind of leaked information to the cops and everything. That was able to get him pushed out. And then while that happened as well, they kind of let the Omi Alliance come in and didn't really do a thing about it. And because the Arakawa family was the people who did this, they let Arakawa become the acting captain of the Tojo clan. Adachi also mentions like, "Hey, I want to help you because I'm investigating something. Also, I'm not really a cop. I'm kind of I used to do DMV stuff because they pushed me over there. I want to help you because like you are tied to this family and everything, and they are tied to this one dude in the police department that I think is also tied to them. So I want to get information about him and take this dude down." Eventually, you go back to Kamurocho. You kind of see everything that's different and all that sort of stuff. How things have changed in the last 19 years, where you see people on cell phones. You're like, "What is that?" You see a dude vaping, and you're like, "What is that?" It's very good. But also like the
asking the real questions.
Exactly. The Omi Alliance is all throughout Kamurocho and everything, and you bump into them and get on their bad side. Now they're on the hunt for you. You see the old soapland that you grew up in is now destroyed because of the events of Yakuza 1. Which is a thing. And then you find the dude who you beat up for selling animal porn at the very beginning of the game. He's now a journalist, and he tells you like, "Hey, yeah, all that stuff that dude told you is true. Arakawa family's in the Omi Alliance now. The young master is dead. So like I guess the Arakawa just changed because of all that sort of stuff. Things happened. Stuff happens. You fight some dudes. Blah 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 blah. Eventually, you have to meet Adachi, and you're gonna go infiltrate this meeting that the Omi Alliance is having, and you know that Arakawa's gonna be there, and Adachi thinks that like they'll be able to get information about this corrupt police chief and everything. Before that, he also gives you a phone, and Ichimon's like, "How do you work this phone? Why is there no buttons on it? I know what. How does this work?" So you get that phone and everything. You get to do some free stuff in the meantime. Then you come back to the meeting place and you meet this dude named Nick Ogata, who's just like this foreign rich guy. He's like the dude version of Mari from Love Live Sunshine, where he speaks like sometimes in Japanese and sometimes like with English words scattered throughout. And this dude's just like on the phone with someone, and you're at the same place, and then these Yakuza dudes come up to him and they're like, "Hey, we want to sell the business you sold to us." And he's like, "Oh, just because you're not running it right and you're getting low profits?" And like, "Yeah, we thought because you were running it so well, we would be able to rake in money, and now we're broke." And he's like, "Oh, it's because you're bad businessmen." Like, "What do you say?" So Ichiban beats up these dudes for him, and then Nick's like, "Oh, thanks, I really appreciate that," and everything. And Ichimon's like, can you teach me how to use a phone? And Nick's like, yeah, I can do that. And then you're like, you exchange numbers and everything, and then Adachi shows up, and Ichimon's like, where have you been? And Adachi's like, I went and got a beef bowl, and it was real big, so it took me a while. And what were you doing? And Ichimon's like, I just made a pen pal. So you go through the sewers to get up to the place you're going to go to. You fight through a bunch of dudes. Eventually, you make your way to the VIP room, where you find Sawashiro, and Sawashiro's like, oh, I guess you're out of jail. That's cool. Anyways, now I'm going to kill you, because you're not supposed to be here. And I've been waiting a long time to do this. So you fight him and beat him up, and then you're about to bust into the room where Arakawa's in, and he's like, are you sure you want to do this? Like, I don't think you're going to really like what you're going to see in there. And Ichimon's like, yo, I've been waiting 19 years to open this door. I'm going to open this door. Bust through the door. There's a bunch of like dudes just scattered throughout. They're having this big meeting. At the head of the table is Arakawa. Arakawa sees you and is like, The other guy's like, oh, is there going to be a problem? And Arakawa's like, no, this is fine. We'll deal with this. Stands up, and Ichimon's like, you gotta tell me everything's wrong, right? Like, what's happened? And Arakawa pulls out a gun, and is like, sorry, Ichi, you're gonna have to die for me tonight.
Yikes.
And Ichi's like, uh-oh. And that's the fade to the next chapter. It's really good. The next chapter begins, and you wake up in a trash heap. And you're shirtless, and there's a hole in your chest.
What?
From where you got shot.
Yikes.
You're at this homeless encampment in Yokohama, in the subsection of Yokohama called Ijincho, where some of the homeless men are like, oh man, the guy's alive, we lost the bet. You find this one dude who helped nurse you back to health, who is Nanba. He stitched you up with fishing line to make sure you didn't bleed out. Yeah. Well, I mean, what else is he going to have? He's homeless.
Yeah, I mean, he's homeless. That's fine. He did his best.
Yeah.
So
you're back alive and everything. You learn you learn how to live like a homeless person, so you start scrounging for money and everything, and then, in a chapter, you'll be a billionaire. See what I mean by how, like, it's very weird? It's very weird. So yeah, you stay at the homeless camp because the chief is like, hey, I guess you can stay and everything, as long as he does his worth and everything.
Contributes.
Yeah, he contributes. You learn about a whole lot of stuff while this happens, like how to live and everything, and then this debt collector shows up to the homeless camp because they're technically not supposed to be there. They're homeless people. Mm-hmm. This dude named Zhang shows up, and he's like, hey, I gotta give you the money because I'm part of the Chinese mafia. Because I don't remember how to pronounce their name. Let's see if this gives me a pronunciation guide. I highly doubt it.
How do you spell it?
Liumang.
Liumang. Liumang?
Yeah, I guess. Ruman. I'll say the Chinese mafia because it's easier to say.
Okay.
So he's like about that, and Ichimon's like, why would we do this? This is stupid. So eventually you beat this dude up, and then gets him to not have to get the homeless dudes not have to pay insurance money anymore to these dudes. And then you learn about the Ijin 3, which is the Great Wall of Muscle that is in Ijincho, which is the Chinese mafia, the Korean mafia, and then the Seiru clan, which is the Yakuza. So it's these three different mafias that are in this area, but they all have like this stalemate with each other where they don't really impede on each other's domains and anything. So a huge war doesn't break out, essentially. Also, because of this, the Omi Alliance is not able to get into Yokohama because of that. While they're at the homeless camp, they eventually find that Ichiban has a 10,000 yen bill on him. And it's all bloodied, and it was in his suit pocket where he got shot. And he's like, oh, what's this? And the homeless people are like, oh my god, you have 10,000 yen bill. We're going to take that from you. It's ours now. Yay, look at this. Oh man, it's so good. Hey, wait a minute. Why is the back of it blank? That's weird. And then Nama's like, yeah, that probably means it's counterfeit. They're like, oh, get it away.
Oh no.
Like, why do you have that? And each one's like, I have no idea why I have that. Why would I have that? And Nama's like, all right, let's think about this for a second. A, it's bloody, so it's obviously been on him at some point when he came here. B, there's no hole in it, and it was in his suit pocket where there's a hole. So it's not he didn't have it on him when he was shot. So someone planted it on him. So I would hasten to believe that he does not know where this thing came from, which is true. So that happens, and then you're like, hey, why don't we all get jobs? Come on, everyone, let's get jobs. Yay, we can all do this. Get on your feet, let's get a job. And Namba's like, dude, shut the up. What are you doing? Like, it's not that easy for us to just get up and go get jobs. Like, there are reasons for every single person to be here, for whether it's society has failed them, or, you know, they have nowhere else to go, or, you know, just other things have happened. Like, we can't just get up off our feet and go get a job because we feel like it.
Boomer.
Basically, yeah. But eventually, you know, he brings Namba around because, like, he's like, I need to get a job. I need to get money and figure out some things. So he goes to the workplace called Hello Work, and they're like,
Hello Work?
That's what it's called.
Hello Work.
Hello Work.
Oh, Hello Work.
And they're like, we can't give you a job because you don't have any, like, job experience and you have no identification on you. And they're like, oh, man. But, like, this old dude comes up and is like, hey, I know there's a place that I could hire you for the night. It pays 5,000 yen. You just got to go to this bar and they'll tell you about the job. So they go to the place and they see, like, there's been, like, the window's been broken and everything in it. And they find this woman named Hamako who's like, yes, I hired you guys. I want you guys to be guards for this place because, you know, there was a brick thrown through this bar, and we think it was the Korean mafia who did it because they're stealing electricity, and we turned off the electricity to them. So we think they did this for revenge and everything. So you hang out at the bar, do everything. This dude shows up who was at the Hello Work as well and struck out. He shows up with, like, a hammer and is ready to, like, break down the bar, and Ichiban and Namba are like, no. They chase him out, and then he runs off into the Korean mafia territory, and then you see a bunch of dudes in, like, a shady building with crossbows show up and just start shooting crossbows at Ichiban, and Ichiban's like, whoa, let's get to cover. But then he, like, also just, like, runs out and is like, hey, this is over literally just them not putting the electricity onto you. Why would you do this because of that? Like, that's real stupid. Stop being dumb. Let's figure this out in a way that's, like, not stupid. And then they're like, all right, I guess we'll leave. And Ichiban's like, yay! So they go back to the bar and they're like, yep, everything's cool. They get their money, everything, and then they head back to the homeless encampment. Hamako also told them, like, hey, if you need more work, come to my restaurant. I'll hook you up. So the next day they go over to Hamako's restaurant, which isn't really a restaurant. It is basically, like, it's a front for that she has, like, she says is a restaurant. So it looks like she has a business, but she used it to house ladies of the night, let's say. It's just, so, you know, a way for them to have, like, a place to stay and everything, because, you know, a lot of them don't have Japanese citizenship. They are not, you know,
sex workers are vulnerable.
Yes, exactly. So it's like she's trying to look out for them. While that's happening, so they basically just have to clean the place, and they're gonna get paid for it. They're like, cool, let's do that. While that happens, this essentially it is the equivalent of a right-wing evangelist group called Bleach Japan shows up, and they are protesting around Japan, trying to get out the gray areas of Japan, which is basically, like, you know, sex work, like homeless people, like anything that's, like, seems shady, essentially.
The, like, underbelly of society.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, they're out, they come to Hamako's place and they're protesting it. They're led by their leader, Sota Kume, and basically they're, like, yelling, like, oh, why would you want to be raised by a prostitute and everything? And Ichiban's like, well, I kind of was, so I'm gonna come out there and whoop your ass. And then he chases them off and everything, but then Kume comes back with, like, some very shady looking dudes who want to fight, and then Ichiban's like, I'm going to beat these guys up as well. And then so they do that, and then they run them off again, and then Hamako's like, all right, cool, you guys, you know, saved my place and everything, it's real nice. You guys want to stay upstairs? You want to have a room here? And they're like, yes, please.
Yep.
Cool. So now, like, they have a cool place to stay. Namba talks about his past here a little bit. He talks about how, like, you know, he was an actual nurse at one point, and then eventually, like, he got fired because he was selling drugs. So like that's why he had to get thrown out on the street and everything. And then also Ichimon's like, I like to see myself as a hero. I feel
I mean,
cool.
this ties into our hero podcast we did
It's true.
a few weeks ago, or however long ago it was.
Patreon.com/SACOVA if you want to listen to that.
Need a hero.
The cliffhanger for this chapter is that the dude that tried to break down the bar or bust up the bar, he is being interrogated by people with crossbows and then gets shot in the head.
Yikes!
To end that chapter. Chapter 4, we see Adachi sneak into Hamako's place and wakes up Nanba and Ichiban. And Adachi's like, yeah, so I got fired by my job as well, so I kind of have to come hang out with you guys now. So he kind of goes into Adachi kind of goes into everything that he was trying to find and like all the information, which is kind of what we've already talked about and everything. So they go off to Hello Work to get more work again. While you go do that, Adachi joins your party, so you get the nice little fanfare. When he joins your party, he's like...
Nice.
It's very good. While he so you're going to Hello Work, and you see a bat in the ground, and they're like, oh, let's try and get this bat out of the ground. So Nanba and Adachi try and do it, but they can't do it. Ichi
oh my God, is this like a sword in the stone type thing?
pulls the bat out, and it's like a barbed wire wrapped baseball bat. He's like, yes, I have done it. I am like the hero. It's my hero sword. And then this is how like all of the fights turn into like, you know, the enemies transforming in front of you. It's immediately after this.
Oh my God.
So they're like, he's like, yeah, they all did that and everything. Like, no, that's not what happened. What are you talking about? What are you doing?
That's really good.
So they go to Hello Work to find work and everything. They find a director who was the guy who told them about the job at the bar. And they're like, wait, you're the director here? He's like, yeah, that's me. So they're trying to find a job that they're all qualified for. And this guy's like, I don't know, but I guess I mean, there's this one guy who's looking for work or for some employees. I can get you an interview there at least if you want. So they get an interview at this place called Otohime Land, which is a soap land. So they go there, and the dude's like answering phone calls and everything, and Nanba and Adachi are like, this guy sucks. Like, he's like, we should just leave. And Ichiban's just like, hello, sir, I would like to work for you. And everyone's like, they're like, what do you mean? What do you mean? We just told you this guy sucks. And Ichiban's like, no, I will work for this man. He will give us money, and then we can exchange it for goods and services. Of course, while this is happening, Bleach Japan shows up, and they're still protesting stuff. They head outside and basically are like, hey, get out of here. Get out of here, you losers. They head back inside, and the manager's like, yeah, so like my top girl is gone. I'm trying to get her back, but she keeps like missing work for strange reasons, and I'm trying to figure out what's happening with her. Just to figure out, like, I just want to make sure she's okay, or if she's basically kind of like selling stuff on the side, which it would not be cool. And then we'll have to deal with that later if that's the case. So, like, your first mission with this dude is to, like, go find this girl whose name is Nanoha. And you basically, like, find her eventually, and you see that she walks into this cafe with this sketchy-looking dude. And you're like, oh, we need to figure out what they're talking about, but the cafe's booked full. So we need to figure out what they're talking about. So they come up with this idea where Ichiban runs into the cafe and he's like, they're like, oh, no, we're full. We can't accept you. And Ichiban's like, look, I just have to go to the bathroom. Can I just do that? And they're like, oh, yeah, cool. It's fine. It's fine. So he puts his phone on speakerphone. He calls one of Adachi and Nanba and just like hides it in a planter next to the table that Nanoha and this dude is at. And they keep hearing like this weird like conversation about like how she's paying this guy money because her dad's sick and things could happen if she's late with her payments and stuff like that. So they learn like, oh, okay, so she's probably not doing, work on the side. She's trying to work and get money because her dad's sick and everything. So they investigate where this dude works and everything. I think they tail him back to like his work, and he works at this place called like the Sunlight Castle, which is like this very fancy nursing home. And they're like, well, we should go in and see what's up. But they're like, oh, no, you can't come in unless you're, trying to work with us, essentially. So, like, you can't just, like, get a tour or anything like that. They look it up online, which I think they're like, oh, look us up on our webpage. And Ichiban's like, what's a webpage? So yeah, they look it up and everything, and they're like, oh man, yeah, this is very expensive, like extremely expensive to go here. So no wonder she needs all this money to get her dad to stay here and everything. So they're like, okay, let's go back to the Hello Work and let's get a recommendation to go work at the nursing home. So they do that. Two of the guys are able to like, get jobs that are fit them. So like Nanba is like a temp nurse. Adachi's a security guard, but they couldn't find anything for Ichiban, so he's a janitor. So they basically try and like investigate what's happening, and then they kind of like work through their routes and everything. The first day, but they are unable to find anything. They go back to work the next day and everything. They find like, I think Ichiban kind of like stumbles into this room called like the excellent room or whatever. It's like this place where like, oh, this is where the high rollers would go and everything.
Like the VIP.
Yeah, they wheel this lady in who like sees where she's going and like immediately starts freaking out, and then she goes behind a locked door and you just hear her scream.
Ah.
And then like eventually later on they learned like, oh yeah, they're just murdering people in there. Super sketch.
Yikes.
So they learn also that like people in the security are members of the Seiru clan, the Yakuza they hear. It's like that's also super sketchy. So eventually you sneak in and are able to like find Nanaha's dad and save him from being murdered, because he was literally about to get murdered and injected with like a bunch of drugs that like they would inject like a death row inmate with.
Ah.
Like a lethal cocktail of sorts. They're confronted by the dude who claims he's the director of the facility, and it's like, yeah, this was all blah 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 blah, and they're like, no, we're gonna beat you up now. gotta fight you. So you do that, and then eventually you're just like, yeah, so we're gonna tell your boss about this, and he's like, what do you mean? No, we're not gonna tell my boss about this. No, this isn't what happened. Yeah, we're gonna tell your boss about this. So this dude who has been running this nursing home had not been telling his patriarch about this, which is a little sketchy.
Yeah.
And then eventually you have to meet up with him at the Seiru clan headquarters, but the whole thing's a setup. You have to fight through some dudes. Eventually you fight your way through like all the way up to the top room where the patriarch is, and fight a bunch of dudes. Just fight a bunch of dudes. Whole bunch of dudes. So you find the patriarch of the Seiru clan. His name is Hoshino, and he's like, why are you here? And he's like, all right, yeah, this dude's been siphoning money, doing all this shady stuff, killing people. And Hoshino's like, I mean, yeah, that sucks, but like also, you're not a part of our clan. You're not privy to our business and how we do things. So like, I don't really care what you say and everything. So that's that. But also, like, he has the dude who was running this place, cut his finger off.
What is with all the finger cutting?
That's a Yakuza thing.
Yikes, I don't like that.
And then basically just, like, has him removed from headquarters and everything. And then Ichiban's like, you're, like, kind of like the old guard of Yakuza who I started to admire. You remind me of my old, like, the dude who I used to run with. And Hoshino's like, who did you used to run with? And Ichiban's like, I used to be part of the Arakawa family. And Hoshino's like, interesting. So they get to settle all that stuff. They meet up with Nanaha, and one of the other members of the Seiru clan comes with them and is like, oh, it's a shame, but we're going to have to close this place down because of, stuff that happened, but we're going to give you a full refund. We'll help you find a new place for your dad to stay at and everything while, he's battling these health issues and everything. But, like, we're going to do things right for you and everything. So they're able to help her and get things back to normal and everything. So they figured all that stuff out. They were about to head back to the soapland and be like, oh, hey, we're going to report back to the boss that we fixed everything up. When they get there, they find the boss is strung up and has hung himself.
Ah.
Bad things have happened.
Yes.
This is going to be a long podcast.
Yep.
I'm going to be like, man, I'm talking so much. Why did I talk so much? So the next chapter begins and, like, you're at the funeral for the boss guy, and you're all like talking about like, man, this is super messed up. Like, what happened? Can't believe he would just hang himself like this. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And then you see Nanoha show up, quote unquote, and she's like, what are you guys talking about? That dude was not like this patron saint or anything. Like, he was super sketchy and everything, and just like, had some real shady stuff happening. And they're like, is this really Nanaha? She seems real weird all of a sudden. But it turns out this is Nanaha's twin sister, who is Seiko. She also worked under this guy who because he also ran a cabaret club, and she worked as a hostess there. And she explains like, oh, I've had this weird, relationship with my family and everything. So like, couldn't really help anything. And I didn't know she was working at a soap plant and all this sort of stuff until, just recently. And I was just like, oh, this is messed up. Also, I don't think he killed himself. I think he was murdered. Like,
yikes.
Excuse me? So she's like, yeah, so let's head back to the soap land and talk about this. So like, she talks about like, oh, I was on the phone call with him. We were talking about my sister's situation and everything. And then like, in the middle of that phone call, we hear like, he had to like go away real quick, and then like just a bunch of weird stuff happened, and then I heard like these dudes just yelling Lao Ma, Lao Ma, and I was like, that sounds Chinese and everything, so maybe it was the Chinese mafia who was doing this. So like, oh well, that seems real weird, we should probably look into this. So you get Seiko to join your party, and you get the fanfare and everything. It's very good.
Yay.
You head down to like the Chinese area of the map where there's a bunch of restaurants and everything. It's called Restaurant Row, so obviously. And you're looking for information about Lao Ma, who's also named Mabuchi. No one will talk to them because they're like, we're not going to talk to you guys. What are you talking about? You find the dude who was trying to shake down the homeless camp and basically fool him into giving you information after you like infiltrate the hostess club that he frequents and everything. So he basically kind of tells you like, yeah, I think he runs like this warehouse thing, and like that's where you would find him if you really want to talk to him. So basically it becomes the gang gets jobs at this like big trading company.
Mm-hmm. It's
a warehouse, and you have to like work at this warehouse, and the dudes are like, unpacking stuff, doing like the heavy lifting. Psycho gets like more like an administrative job. She like runs like the register where she pays people for their imports and exports, all that sort of stuff. So they're doing all that sort of stuff. Eventually they figure out like they have counterfeit money here. That's real weird. So it's like counterfeit Chinese money. It's not counterfeit Japanese yen. So it's a little bit different. So they're still trying to figure that out and everything. Bleach Japan shows up at one point while they're all hanging out at the soap land, because that's kind of like their kind of headquarters. They're like, you should close this place down, it's bad and everything. And then Ichiban's about to like mess this dude up, Kume, and then Psycho just walks in and just like slaps the heck out of him.
Nice.
And then Ichiban's like, okay, cool, now I'm gonna punch you as well. Bam. So like they just have this big brawl with a bunch of Bleach Japan stuff or folks. They beat them up, and then they send them packing, and then like all the rest of like the businesses around there are like, yeah, get out of here, you guys suck, never come back, Bleach Japan. Yeah, these guys are cool, we're never gonna have to rely on the Yakuza again because we got these guys. Eventually you find like this mysterious lady who shows up and is looking for the owner of the soap land and everything's like, nah, he's dead. And this girl passes out. This becomes Eri, who is also like ties into the business side stuff and everything, and also is the secret party member who does not show up in any story stuff.
Does not show up in cutscenes.
Does not show up in story stuff. Congratulations, you won the contest to be in the Yakuza game. You do not get to be in any story stuff.
Wait, there was a contest?
Yeah.
Huh.
It was like contest for ladies to be in the Yakuza game. So like she's one, and then someone
she's a real person?
Yeah.
Oh.
That's her actual name as well.
Oh, wow.
So like she's one, and then some of like the other like side characters that you'll find are also contest runner-ups essentially. So like there's a lady who does the quizzes and stuff like that. There's the lady at the bar. There's a lady at the Hello Work, and then there's the lady who does like the weapon crafting and all that sort of stuff. They're like all real people.
Wow, I did not realize she was an actual person. I just thought she was like a secret character.
No, she's a real person.
That's crazy pants.
Yeah. Which
I guess sad for her that she doesn't get to show up in any of the cutscenes.
Yeah, it's a bit of a bummer.
Yeah.
So yeah, they help her out, and then eventually she joins your party once you progress through the business part of that side story. Eventually you go back to the warehouse, and you're going to try and come up with a plan to have Seiko sneak Ichiban a fake bill.
Mm-hmm.
So everything goes well, but then like you bump into someone and the bill goes flying. They're like, "Oh, this is bad. We gotta figure this out." Also before this, they when they come up with the plan and everything, there's this nice like conversation that like they have where Ichiban and Seiko are like at the soap land and like they're just talking after like they've bathed and everything. They didn't bathe together. It's just the way it was. And he's like, I like this group we got going on. Like we're all good friends. We're friends now and everything. We're buds. Like you're a part of that as well. Like I want you to feel like you're comfortable with us. Like I want you to be one of our buds. And she's like, I've never really had someone like go to bat for me like that. Like that's real cool and everything.
Never had buds before.
Yeah, I got a cool bud now. And then
Yay.
she's like, all right, I guess I'll make you guys dinner.
Nice.
It's a good way to kind of like let her feel a part of the group when she kind of just like shows up out of nowhere. But like and Ichiban's just like, yeah, dude, you're a part of the group now. Like it's cool. Like you are with us. We are ride or die for you now.
That's nice.
So they go with the counterfeit plan and everything, but it fails. And then they're like, oh god, these are Japanese traitors. We have to beat them up and kill them. They try and like send a semi truck and fling it at them.
Oh god.
Drive it at them, but they're able to avoid it. But then the semi truck explodes and they get knocked out and then are taken captive. So that's basically where the next chapter picks up, where you're basically tied up and you find you're in front of Mabuchi, the guy you've been looking for.
Da-da-da.
And he's like interrogating you, being like, oh, you guys are a part of the Seiru clan, aren't you? That's why you broke in here. And Ichiban's like, no, definitely not. But he has this dude like record it and everything. And eventually he's like using this as a way to start a war with the Seiru clan and everything, because he just doctors the video eventually. And then just like kind of leaves you there to hang by your arms, essentially. Also, he like takes a knife and just cuts open your chest.
Ah.
Not like deep, but he just does it as like, oh, I can do this to you.
I can do this.
So he has you like leaves you there for a bit, and then he has some of his goons show up and just are like, all right, we're gonna really mess you up now. But there's also this weird, mysterious guy who's with him in like white hair and he has a mask on, who seems a little out of it. But then like while they're about to like really mess up Ichiban and the crew, this dude pops in and like helps free them and is like, hey, this is all I can do for now. See you later. Bye. So they beat up a bunch of the Chinese mafia dudes. They make their way out of the underground prison. And eventually you find yourself fighting an excavator.
Yeah, you showed me that.
Which is fun. You beat that thing up.
Didn't it have a weird name?
Probably did. You beat the thing up and you're able to get out. Then you're basically like you call Hoshino and you're like, hey, Mabuchi is trying to start a war with you guys, and he's like, yeah, about that. So like my captain's heading down to the Chinese mafia territory, and they're going to mess them up right now because Mabuchi and his crew rolled up on two of my guys and just executed them.
Oh jeez.
In full public view of everyone.
Oh jeez.
Like, they are riddled with holes. It is graphic. So you basically have to go down there and try and stop everything that's happening. Eventually, you're able to, like, find the captain and like, hey, we got to slow this down and everything. We got to figure this out. But then the head of the Chinese mafia, Chow, shows up and is like, yeah, I don't really believe you that Mabuchi was going to turn on me and everything like this and start this war unbeknownst to me. Like, that seems real weird. I'm going to take this guy hostage, and you're going to find information for me, or this guy's going to die.
Yikes.
And, I have an idea where you can get information. You should probably head to where the Korean Mafia is. If you can get in there, of course. So that's what you have to go do. You have to go find information that shows that Mabuchi was doing this all on his own and everything. And you head to the Korean Mafia's headquarters or area of the map. While you go there, you meet this mysterious lady who leads you part of the way and then disappears. Eventually, you find your way. Mysterious lady. You eventually find your way up through this weird building that's full of wires and everything. fight some dudes here and there, and then you make your way into like the heart of the building where you're welcomed by this gentleman with white hair, whose name is Jungi Han. He shows you like the base of their operation, which is like this big like network where it's like all these cameras and screens and everything that like gives them like a view of like everything that's happening in the city at any given point. Which they learn like why they have to take electricity from everyone, because like they have this wild information network and everything. And then they're like, okay, so what's up with Mabuchi and everything? They're like, yeah, that dude's still alive and everything. We have the footage of him going into the soapland where the dude died and everything. So like that's the evidence you want, but we can't give it to you yet because we have to show you something else. Here's our counterfeiting operation. So they show him that, and then the leader of the Korean Mafia, Sungwi, shows up. She's like, hello, I'm back. Did you miss me? No? Okay, cool.
She has neat hair.
She does have neat hair. So yeah, they basically explain the counterfeiting operation and everything. And they're like, why do you have that counterfeit bill in your pocket, Ichiban? And he's like, I still don't know, guys. I don't know.
I didn't put it there.
And then they're like, okay, I feel like we would be able to understand if you're lying or not, and you don't seem like the kind of guy who would be lying that easily. So that leads us to Namba. Why are you here? Why are you with this guy? And then we find out that Nanba had been spying on the Korean Mafia this whole time. That's why he was in the homeless encampment. And it's because his brother, who was a reporter, got a scoop on the counterfeit operation that the Asian 3 had been running, and then suddenly went missing. And the Korean Mafia has him. So like that, he's been always like trying to like find an eye on him. And then once he finds that Ichiban has this counterfeit bill, he's like, oh, maybe this is the guy that I can use to find information about where my brother is and everything. So eventually you have to fight Jungi Han, which is interesting because like you can that can be a fight where you only have 3 party members if you don't have Eri.
Oh geez.
So it can be a little bit more tough. So you fight him and everything, and then Sungwee's like, all right, so you have to come to this tower at 2 a.m. We're going to discuss Namba's fate and whether or not we're going to murder him or not. And they're like, oh boy. So eventually the time happens. You go to the tower, and lo and behold, Sungwee's there, Chao's there, and also Chairman Hoshino's there. All 3 leaders of the Asian 3 are sitting there waiting for you.
Everyone's here.
Everyone's here. It is true. So you have this like big talk about like, what's happened, like what basically the alliance, or like the alliance quote unquote, is between the Asian 3. They have the secret counterfeiting scheme that they've all been running. Each group has a specific part. They eventually funnel that money to this politician named Ogikubo, who's a leader in the Citizens Liberal Party. And he basically came up with this counterfeiting scheme to like make sure there wasn't just constant war in this area of Yokohama. So if they all had to work together for this specific operation, they wouldn't, be fighting each other this whole time. So essentially this whole like, stalemate and everything is BS. No one knows about it except like the leaders of each specific mafia. And the reason why they want to have Nanba dealt with is because if he tells people the truth about this, like that's going to lead to war between all of the groups, essentially.
Yikes.
So that's where we stand with all of that. At the end of it, they're like, okay, well, we should probably, take care of these guys since they might do or explain this and everything. But then they're like, nah, let's not. You guys just have to go find Namba, find him, and then we'll figure things out afterwards. They eventually, Hanjugi is like, hey, so I found out where Namba might be. Also, the Chinese mafia's got hitmen after him, so you want to get to him fast. Namba has basically found himself at the headquarters of Bleach Japan. Where they bust into the headquarters of that. They are met by Kume, Nanba, and then the director of Bleach Japan, Ogasawara. It's a mouthful of a name.
Yep.
And Ichiban's like, hey, there's assassins coming here. We got to do this and everything. And then Ogasawara was like, they probably are and everything. But let's get Mabuchi and my boys in here and we'll figure these guys out real quick. So Mabuchi's working with Bleach Japan. And basically has gone rogue from the Chinese mafia and everything. So you beat him up and everything. And then afterwards, Namba and Kume return. And like Namba's like, I have to stay with these guys and I have to find my brother. Like, this is the reason I've been doing everything so far. Like, this is why I have been with you guys. Like, this hasn't been about friendship or anything. This has all been about me trying to find information about my brother. And that's it. So, like, I have to go. And I have to do that, regardless of what you say. So he leaves your party for a good little bit. Because he's off, working with Bleach Japan to try and find his brother as in a way to get him back and everything. While they're, so like they feed up everyone and the office is kind of abandoned and everything. So they go into the director's office and try and like find some information and stuff. While they're there, Ichiban finds like this newspaper clipping of the director and this other dude. And they're like, and he's like, who's this guy with Ogasawara? And they're like, oh, that's the governor of Tokyo, Ryo Aoki. And Ichiban's like, no, that's Masato Arakawa. What are you talking about? That's the young master. He's supposed to be dead.
Dumpa-bum.
Big dumpa-bum.
Now he has fancy hair.
He does have fancy hair. So they basically head back to the bar and they look up online about Aoki's like profile and everything about like, who he was and everything. They're like, and they learn like, oh, he was a shut-in until he went off to university in America where he befriended Ogasawara. And after he got surgery to treat his disability, which I don't think they really go into in this profile or anything. But like that's kind of like what they assume happened because Ichiban's like, yeah, he was in a wheelchair. I don't know what happened. They come back to Japan. They form Bleach Japan, which is this nonprofit organization and everything, blah, blah, blah. Aoki goes into politics, goes up the ladder real quick and eventually becomes the governor of Tokyo. All that sort of stuff. And they basically kind of come to the idea that like, oh, he changed his name and everything. So like he wouldn't have ties to the Yakuza or anything. So like he would be less tainted in the eyes of the people and all this sort of stuff. So it would be easier for him to, climb the ladder of politics and all that sort of stuff. The next morning, Ichiban gets a call from Hamako, who's like, hey, there's a bunch of Yakuza dudes here stalking my place. Can you come take care of them? And Ichiban's like, yeah, cool. I got this. So it's the one dude who was the director of the nursing home who shows back up. And he's like, yeah, I don't agree with the old man anymore. So we're rogue as well. And then you beat him up. Beat those dudes up. Eventually you also find that like, because of what has happened, Bleach Japan is letting the Omi Alliance flood into Yokohama at this point. So after you deal with these guys, Chao calls Ichiban and is like, you need to head to the area where the Korean Mafia is because the Omi Alliance has a bunch of protesters, quote unquote, who are trying to break down like this barricade that leads into their area. And like trying to show off what they've been doing. And we can't let people see the counterfeiting operation. We cannot let people have proof of that. He also tells them like, hey, don't worry about Namba. We're not going to go kill him or anything right now. If you guys protect the Korean Mafia and defeat all those guys, we're good. Also, the Chinese Mafia is experiencing a coup right now from Mabuchi. So Chao's like trying to deal with that and everything. But he's like, hey, go help them. And then we'll deal with everything else later.
Chaos.
So you go there and you have to like sneak in and as a protester, you fight like Kume and his guys and you're like, Kume, why are you such an idiot? Why don't you see like they are manipulating you? Like, stop being dumb. And he has like one moment of being like, maybe they are. But then you sneak in and then you find they brought in a wrecking ball and is being manned by this dude named Reiji Ishioda, who is a member of the Omi Alliance. He's like a lieutenant under Arakawa and everything. And you have to fight a wrecking ball. Because of course.
Sometimes you just gotta fight wrecking balls.
It's true. He thinks he squished you guys into a building, but then you snuck out. And then Ichiban gets a phone call from Han, who's like, hey, I can give you guys assistance. You go to this one restaurant right now. I will give you a gift. And then
I like gifts.
You go to this restaurant and the manager's and he's like, and you're like, yeah, we were told to come here. We were supposed to get a gift. The manager's like, shut the up. Come with me. You go into the back and you go into this room and it leads you down into like this sewer area, but then it's also like this underground housing place that the Korean mafia set up for, you know, people to have like housing and everything. It is a secret only within the Korean mafia, so like no one else knows about it and everything. And then it leads you back up to the base of operations for the Korean mafia. Han and Swangui are there, and they're like, hey, can you guys stall the Omi Alliance so that we can burn the counterfeiting operation? We can set it all on fire.
Dang.
So you have to like basically hold off the Omi Alliance, where you have to fight Ishioda, you have to fight Nanba, and then some other Omi Alliance dudes. You beat them up. Han and Songui have captured Osarara, and then they also are like, hey, Nanba, your brother's alive, by the way. He's just been down in like our housing development stuff because we couldn't really kill him because he knows too much, and like he's also talented, so like why would we do that? There's your information. Now you can stop being dumb.
Yay.
And then the next chapter opens up where you basically interrogate Ogasawara, who eventually tells you, yes, Ryo Aoki is Masato Arakawa. You know, he had his treatment in the United States. He came back with me. We formed Bleach Japan. We want to get rid of the gray zones and everything. He was behind the Kamurocho 3K plan that, you know, took the Tojo clan out of Kamurocho and allowed the Omi Alliance to come in and everything. You know, obviously he was probably the person who pushed Arakawa to feed the information to the cops and everything. All this sort of stuff. So he tells you a whole ton of stuff and everything. And then while you're...
Info dump, basically.
Yeah, basically, big info dump. And then while you're interrogating him, some Omi Alliance guys show up to try and recapture him. You beat him up, but they were able to like recapture him. But you basically got the information you needed from him anyway, so it's fine. It's whatever. Also, like Sungwi and Han are also there and just like chilling and like yeah, if you don't tell us anything, we're gonna rip off your fingernails. One by one until you tell us stuff. And he's like, ah!
Yikes.
So after that, Sungwi gets a call from Hoshino and tells her like, all right, the Saber clan's infighting is kind of calmed down. Chao is missing. We need to figure out where he is and everything. So if you could do that, that'd be great. And then she relays all that to Ichiban and the crew, and they're like, why don't you come join us and you can help us fight and everything. She's like, yeah, cool, I would do that. I'll fight with you guys. But then and then Han's like, hey, wait a minute, you're kind of the leader and we kind of need you to, you know, make sure everyone's okay back at base and everything. So like maybe that's not a good idea. And she's like, oh yeah, that's also a good idea. Why don't you have him come with you? So you get Han to join up with your crew.
And his raincoat.
Mm-hmm.
He basically is TOP.
Yes. 100%.
Like, I even looked because I was curious, and there is a picture of TOP in a raincoat that's very, very similar to that, but it's red.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like,
Also, Jungi Han is a character from Yakuza 6
That's
who
what he
was
said.
shot in the head and murdered.
Yep.
But this is his body double from that Korean mafia, who was basically there. He got a ton of reconstructive surgery and everything just to be this guy, just in case anything bad happened. But oh god, something bad happened to him, and we didn't get to use this guy, so he just left, showed up in Yokohama, and has just kind of been here.
Yay.
That's kind of the gist of everything. Namba shows back up at the homeless camp and is like, yeah, I'm still not going to join up with you guys, but I saw my brother. He's fine. But I can't really deal with this stuff right now. So I can't really rejoin you guys. So you head over to Chao's restaurant, where apparently he was last seen. You try and get some information. You fight some dudes from the Chinese mafia who are rebelling and everything. And then you fight your way through a building. And then you eventually find your way up to where Mabuchi is. He's hanging out with some of the higher-ups of the Omi Alliance, including the one dude from the last chapter. And then he's also with this dude named Tendo, who is also an Omi Alliance lieutenant under Arakawa. They talk about how he's like a boxer and everything. And each one's like, all right, I'm going to fight this guy and everything. And then Tendo's like, nah, I'm not going to fight you guys right now. I'm just going to leave, you know. I don't have to fight you right now. Maybe someday I'll fight you guys, but like, not right now. Not feeling it. I'll see you guys later. So you eventually have to fight like Mabuchi and Ishioda. But then Namba shows up and helps you out with this fight and rejoins you. Because he's like, I don't know if I can join you guys. I did some real bad stuff to you guys. And Ichimon's like, no. You're my friend. You're my comrade. You're my party member. You can join back up with us. We're cool. So then you get your full party back. Once you beat up Ishioda, Chao shows back up and is like, hello, everyone. I am back. By the way, Ichiban, I got to talk to you alone for a second. So you go off with him for a second. He's like, so this guy in the Omi Alliance, like, found me, saved me from everything that was happening. It was like, who knew you? And he said he wanted to talk to you real quick. And then it's Mitsu from the very beginning of the game, your, like, friend in the Arakawa family, who's like,
huh.
All right, so, hey, I can't talk long in case anyone shows up or anything. But, like, I'm glad you're okay and everything. I'm glad I could see you and everything. I'm going to call you with more information. Arakawa's going to need allies soon. That's all I can tell you. And then he runs off and you're like, that's weird, huh?
Goodbye.
Yep. After that, Chao was like, I'm going to step down from the Chinese mafia. Can't really handle this right now. Songui, you're in charge now. Cool. Thanks. Bye.
Have fun with the Chinese mafia and the Korean mafia.
Yay! They eventually find Hoshino, and they're like, he's like, yeah, I think the Seiru clan's going to succumb to the Omi Alliance at any time now. It's real bad. Also, by the way, Ryo Aoki's kind of behind the downfall of Ogikubo, who's basically been ousted in his party chair role, and they're going to put Aoki in that role now as well. And it's very bad. Aoki is like, I'm going to dissolve Parliament because I'm cool. They're like, you can't do that. He's like, I can. They're like, dang. I think maybe this is later. Never mind. We'll get to it. So yeah, you talk about, the crumbling of the Great Wall of Muscle. Ichiban tells everyone about Arakawa's murder attempt on him and then everything that's happened. And then Hoshino's like, hey, by the way, I can tell you why you have that counterfeit bill on you. We should go get some food. We'll talk about this. So you have a meal, and then Hoshino's like, so the reason you have that counterfeit bill on you is because that is essentially a introduction letter from Arakawa to me.
What?
So he tells you about how, like, for years, the Arakawa family has dumped bodies in Ijincho, and the Seiru clan has kind of dealt with them. If they, they're dead bodies, they deal with them in one way. However, there's a special exception where if they are brought alive, the homeless people give them aid and they let them be on their way, and they're like act as if they're dead, essentially. Well, in the past, let's say, well in the past, when Hoshino was on the up and up with his clan, they were, doing the counterfeit scheme and everything. One of the people who was moving money for them was Toshio Arakawa, Masami Arakawa's father. His wife and her lover stole the counterfeit bills from him, so he couldn't basically fulfill his end of the bargain. When Arakawa and his dad went to get Peking Duck at the very beginning of the game, and that guy shows up to murder him, the guy who murdered Arakawa's dad is Hoshino. Because he was a young hitman at the time, and he was the family he was a part of was the one doing the counterfeit scheme, and he was the one who was tasked to deal with the consequences. Fast forward years later, when Arakawa gets his own family, Hoshino sends him like a big thing of counterfeit bills that have the back blank as just like a kind of like a peace offering, essentially. All that sort of stuff. And then that's how Hoshino knew, like, when he first saw the counterfeit bill on Ichiban, that, like, that was one of the bills I sent Arakawa way back when. So clearly this is a guy we have to keep alive. We can't let this dude die. Shady things.
Da-ba-bum.
So yeah. The next chapter opens up and it's like, Ogakuba's got a sudden retirement due to illness. Wow, bad. Man, Ryo Aoki, he's real cool. We should let him be the party chair guy. Yay!
Yay!
Aoki goes to see Ogakuba in the hospital and is like, I'm in charge now. You suck. You are trash. I know what you've been doing in Ijin show as well. You're trash. Blah, blah, blah. Back at the bar, Han and now Chow are there as well. They are now party members.
Yep.
Yay.
Yay!
We learned that Bleach Japan is like now more reputable because of what they did to the Korean Mafia. Everyone's like, whoa, my gosh, they're so cool. Also, Ogasawara was dead.
Ah.
And they're like, oh yeah, the Omi Alliance probably murdered him after he talked to you guys. He is dead. Han's like, maybe we should like call it quits because things are getting real bad. And Ichiban's like, no, someone's going to contact me soon and I have to wait. We're not going to do this. Also, he tells everyone about what he learned from Hoshino and everyone's like, what? So he's like, okay, yeah, so Arakawa definitely shot me in order to help me live. He did not shoot me to murder me. It's all good now.
It was a nice shooting.
Mm-hmm. It's a nice shooting. Hamako calls Ichiban and is like, hey, can you help me take out some trash? By the way, the girls that were living at my shop, I don't need the shop anymore because they're all gone. They're all going to like this shelter for illegal residents that Bleach Japan's opening up. It's gonna be great.
Like, help them get citizenship and jobs and things like that. Yay!
I'm gonna go help them work. I'm gonna go work there and like help them and everything. It's gonna be good. And Ichiban's like, I guess. I think this is when you started showing up and watching, right?
Correct. That's why I knew what was going on here.
There's gonna be, I think, a chapter or two where you'll be out of the loop again, but we'll catch you up. After that, Ogasawara's funeral is happening in Ijincho, and they figure out that Aoki's going to be there as well, so they try and find a way to corner him and talk to him and do all that sort of stuff. They meet them down in a parking garage because they found like a one elevator that wasn't like cordoned off and anything. Aoki's guards like stop them and are like, hey, what are you doing? Don't be dumb. Get out of here. But Ichiban also realizes that like they're Omi Alliance guys because of their Kansai dialect. And they got guns. So you beat them up and everything. And then Ichiban's like determined to go find Aoki and be like, hey, what are you doing? He gets bonked on the head and falls over. But then like the car turns around and it's like, and Aoki's like, oh, I'm sorry that my guards roughed you up and everything. And he pulls Ichiban in and he's like, hey, come to Otohime Land tonight. We got to talk. Oh, sorry, I apologize. I'll be out of my way now. Everyone's like, yo, this is a trap.
Yeah, it's
this is a trap. But Ichiban's like, no, I have to talk to him. I have to figure out what he's doing. So Ichiban goes there and meets with Aoki, who's like, yep, that's me. I am Masato Arakawa, that you know it. I got a lung transplant in America. You could pay for anything in America and get it done. Like, it's wild. You want to be higher up on the transplant list? Fork over that money. You're good.
Yep. Not wrong.
No. He also tells you the events that happened on New Year's Eve 2000. He's like, oh, you went to jail and you still don't understand what actually happened. Sawashiro didn't kill that guy. So he tells him like, oh yeah, I left that bar and like I passed out a little bit and like it was just real messed up because I was still recovering from my drugs and everything. And then this Yakuza guy shows up and is just like, oh, get out of here. This is our bar. You can't sleep here. And Masato's like,
and no dumping, and it's the wheelchair.
Yeah. And Masato's like, I will mess you up. Don't test me. And this guy's like, whatever. You're just a little punk. Masato pulls out a gun and points it at his head, and the guy's like, what is it? A little toy gun and anything? And then you see the countdown to 2001 happen, and poof, Masato has just shot this dude straight in the head. His blood is splattered on his face, and he calls Sawashiro up and is like, I messed up.
Uh-oh.
I messed up.
Uh-oh.
So he's like, yeah, the old man let you go to jail for me.
Yeah.
Didn't even tell you exactly what happened. You're a fool. He also is like, hey, I'll let you live if you stay away from me and Arakawa and the old man. And Ichiban's like, nah. I got a better idea. why don't you leave Ijin Show, get Kume to not be in this election campaign, and we'll be even Steven. And Aoki's like, no, I'm not going to do that. Also, I'm going to get my boys to show up now. Also,
like, you said we would be one-on-one.
Yeah, also he tells you that like those shelter projects are complete bullshit.
Yeah, they're trying to deport all these people.
Yeah, they're deportation projects, essentially. So yeah, some of the goons show up, and then Nanba and the crew are like, hey, come on, we gotta get out of here.
Through a curtain.
Yeah, you have to fight some dudes, and then Hamako shows up and is like, oh my god, the girls are gone. They were all gone when I got there. I don't know what happened. And you have to like tell her exactly what happened. She's like, no. And then now you gotta fight some more folks. This is the scene where like you hang out with the heads of the mafia. You hang out with Hoshino, Chow, and Sungwi, and you're all eating. And Chow's like made himself like a big bowl of food.
Made himself a big bowl of food. It was like, all right, I'm just gonna sit here now. Like, it's a huge plate of food. I thought he was making it for everybody, but like everybody else has their own food.
Yeah. You try and come up with a plan to figure out what's happening. You learn that Kume is running for the Kanagawa 2nd District election, and you're like, okay, what if we get some guy to run against him? Like, let's make that the plan. All right, or you need 3 million yen to do this, and you're like, okay, let's figure that out, and we'll do that. You go back to the bar. Mitsu finally phones you up and is like, hey, eventually we're gonna need you in Osaka because Arakawa needs his allies there. So get here as soon as you can. Ichiban gives Hoshino 3 million yen and is like, yep, I still haven't found anyone for you, but that sucks, but we're going to figure it out. And Ichiban's like, hey, I got to go to Osaka. I'll be back later. And Hoshino's like, okay, cool. By the way, I heard there's a captain from the Omi Alliance named Masaru Watashi who is being released from prison. That's why everyone's probably there. And it's going to be the first time those guys meet. So it could be real interesting things are happening at the Omi Alliance headquarters. We see Aoki in his office where he's just like questioning why Arakawa would be going to visit Watashi and Sotenbori, and he orders Sawashiro to watch Arakawa and make sure he has nothing up his sleeves, like he's gonna plan anything. You head to Osaka. You go to the big cabaret club there, and Ichiban's just like all like impatient, like waiting for this call. What if we just go to Omi Alliance headquarters and just do that? So they go there, and then Mitsu calls and it's like, what do you mean you're here? I told you to wait. I didn't tell you to come here straight away. And Ichiban's like, yeah, I guess you did. Anyways, we're here. We're going to figure something out. Bye.
Zhao just comes around the corner. He's like, hey, look, I got these catering things. Maybe this is our way in. I'm just like, where did you even get that?
Yep. So they basically hide themselves as like caterers and make their way all the way up near to the dragon chamber where Arakawa's supposed to be. And he has guests with him, basically, is what they say.
3 people.
3 people. And these Omi Alliance guys are like, oh man, it's real weird. Where's the guy who's supposed to like lead you here? They're like, oh, he was busy. I'm like, who are you? Where are you from? I'm like, I'm from the Arakawa family. And they're like, your name? And he's like, I'm Ichiban Kasuga. And they're like, oh, that's a cool name. And then everyone's like, why would you tell me your name? And they're like, oh yeah, neat name. We're supposed to look for you, you dummy. And he's like, no. So you beat those guys up. And then 2 of the guys that are with Arakawa show up and they're like, oh man, I guess the party got started down here. It's been a long time since we got in a fight, and it's Taiga Seishima and mother Goro Majima.
Yep.
2 big names from the Yakuza games, you might remember.
No, but I recognized one of them.
Yeah.
I knew his face.
Mm-hmm. So you have to fight both of them, and that fight's hard.
Yeah, that's what you said. You had to go level up.
I did have to go do some grinding for that fight. But yeah, Seijima's like, Majima's like trying to fight and everything. Seijima's like, you haven't fought in like years, dude. You need to warm up. But eventually you fight them and like you get through it. But they're like, oh, we were just warming up and everything. Now we're ready, really ready to go. But then Arakawa shows up and is like, what are you guys doing? You guys are on the same side here. You realize that, and they're like, wait, we are? Oh, huh, interesting. Neat. And then Arakawa's other guest shows up, and it's fucking Daigo Dojima, the former head of the Tojo clan. And everyone's like, what the is going on?
Dum-ba-bum.
They lead you to this one room, and they're basically like, here's everything that's actually been going down. All right, so Kamurocho 3K plan happens. Everything's going bad and everything. Tojo clan's getting cracked down and everything. Arakawa supposedly fed information to the police. And Dojima's like, I gave him the information to feed to the police. I warned everyone in the Tojo clan what was about to happen. So this was all planned within us. Because Arakawa came to me and was like, hey, my son wants me to do this. And I was like, all right, let's figure out a way to do this and make sure no one figures out what's actually happening. The rest of the Tojo clan, like higher ups, are all in hiding, basically, just to avoid anyone freaking out or anything. And then Arakawa was like, yes, so like these are the people that are my allies right now. And then I want to see if you guys are going to be my allies as well. So you basically go back, and then you come back the next day for when Watashi makes his homecoming celebration. So this is the big day, but also they tell you, like, so the actual plan for this is that Watashi's going to come back, and, we've talked to him from in jail and relayed information to him, and if everything goes according to a plan, we are going to disband the Omi Alliance and the Tojo clan tomorrow.
Yep.
And everyone's like, what the fuck? So Watashi comes back, everyone's like, welcome back, sir. Welcome back. Because Watashi was the captain. Arakawa was the acting captain. So everyone's like, oh, what's going to happen? Watashi goes into this room where there's a bunch of dudes and everything. Pulls out this piece of paper. And is like, hey, yeah, effective immediately. We're disbanding the Omi Alliance. Everyone's like, what do you mean? What is this? You can't be like, you're a traitor now. So your group walks up in front of him because he's on a stage and you're below the stage. To guard him and everything, and then Dojima shows up and is like, yeah, by the way, we're also disbanding the Tojo clan. Like, what is this guy doing here? He's our enemy. Majima and Seijima also show up and they're like, oh boy. And Arakawa shows up and lines up with you guys, and then Tendo is there. And before the meeting starts, you're like, and Tendo's like, why are you guys here? This is real weird. And he sees Arakawa and is like, you sure these guys could be here? And Arakawa's like, it's fine. They're with me. If anything happens, I will take care of it. And Ichimon's like, oh, buddy, Tendo, you're going to see some wild stuff today. And Tendo's like, huh, okay. So Tendo walks up and is like, oh, man, I always like to fight on the side that's going to give me the best fight. And he squares up with you and then basically turns around and stands beside you and is going to fight with you. So you have this big brawl with all the Omi guys who are real mad and everything. You also tear off your shirt because of course, show off that tattoo. And then you have
oh my god,
big old fight with everyone. There's a point where there's a knife on the ground and one of the guys is one of the enemies is gonna grab it and go and shank Watashi, but then you just see this fist come through and punch him in the face, and it's this dude in a nice suit, got his sunglasses on, and it's Kiryu. This was the point where I literally threw my hands up and I was like, ah! Everyone is shocked because obviously the events of Yakuza 6 have left him as MIA, let's say. They're like, how did you get this guy out of where did you find him? And Watashi's like, I don't know. I don't know this guy's name clearly. He's just some guy I just hired to be a bodyguard, so it's just nice that he showed up.
Random unnamed fella.
Yes. So he fights with you and you clear out these dudes, and then he's like, all right, we'll take care of the front line. You guys take care of the back and everything. And he watches you as you leave. He's like, good luck, Ichiban. And you fight your way through everything. And then eventually you come back to Yokohama and everything's fine and dandy. You get to finally have your heart to heart with Arakawa after so long and everything, where he's talks about how he feels very regretful because he doesn't feel like he's ever done anything for Ichiban and had him go to jail for all this sort of stuff, and just felt very regretful for doing everything. And Ichiban's like, no, dude, it's fine, everything's fine, do not worry. He talks about he keeps having this dream and everything where he's like, yeah, I keep having this dream where Masato was born in the soap land, just like you were, and he basically came out he became a better person, he became kind of like how you were and everything. And he's like, he asks Ichiban, he's like, do you ever think of your parents? Do you ever wanted to meet them? And Ichiban thinks about it. He's like, I mean, yeah, but not really. I grew up the way I grew up. It's fine. I'm the way I am because of the way I lived my life and everything. So they have this heart-to-heart and everything, and then they go their separate ways because Arakawa is going to go meet with Hoshino. They're going to go have some food together and everything and have a little chit-chat. And then you wake up the next morning, you get a voice message from Hoshino who says, hey, they found Arakawa's body. He's dead. He got dumped in the ocean.
Yeah.
That's the end of that chapter. Now we're in the Coin Locker Baby chapter.
Coin Locker Baby!
So Ichiban's real messed up because of this. He's like, okay, we got to figure out what happened, what's going on. So you have to find Hoshino, who basically tells you, like, you know, what they talked about and everything before he left and everything. So like he's like, I could have saved him. I don't know what happened, but like there's also the scene beforehand where like you see like a bunch of the heads of the Omi who are real mad that the Omi got disbanded and everything. Sawashiro is like kneeling on the ground in front of them trying to apologize. Where like, and then Ishioda shows up and is like, here's a bunch of money, here's our forgiveness, cool. And they're like, oh yes, now you are the patriarch of the Arakawa family because Arakawa's dead. And then Sawashiro's like, no, I don't think that's how this is going to be. I'm going to take one of you old farts and gouge your eye out.
Ah.
And I'm going to be the head of the Arakawa family now.
Ugh.
So yeah, then Hoshino like calls you up and is like, hey, let's go get a meal. Let's go talk about what happened. So they basically have like Hoshino relays to him what they talked about the night before, and he's like, I wish I could have stopped him. I gave him an escort or something so he would be alive today. And Ichimon's like, look, you did what you could. Like, it's not your fault he's dead. But Ichimon's still kind of just like real messed up and everything. And they're like, we have to figure out who's behind this. It's probably maybe some like dude in the Omi Alliance who's just like real mad about what happened and everything. But it also could just be Aoki. Who knows? The gang all has like a sit down and everything. And there's like, what do we do? They try and find Kume because they're like, oh, let's talk to him. He'll figure out a way to get us to Aoki. We'll just rough him up a bit. But they can't because like he's got like guards everywhere, and he won't talk to like citizens, and they've been blacklisted because of threats. Aoki gets interviewed at on a news wire that you see like on a TV on a building, and it's just like, oh, they're like questioning him about like him being the new party chair in the Kamurocho 3 Cave Clan, and he's like giving them all like the lip service essentially. They meet back up with Hoshino, and Hoshino's like, here's the 3 million yen you gave me, by the way, because we couldn't find anyone to run, so I guess you're just gonna have to use this. And then they're like, oh, who are we gonna get to run against this guy? And then everyone's just like, hey Ichiban, you want to run for office? Ichiban's like, no. Like, well, you're kind of the only choice here. Like, oh, okay, I gotta go. We have a deadline to meet. We have to go right now to register. So they register. The next day, the bar is like filled with like protest stickers from Kume regarding Ichiban now running. They also run into some dudes who try and fight them, and you're like beat them up and do all that sort of stuff. So you basically come up with this plan to like, well, you need to find a way to have Kume shake your hand, because if he doesn't shake your hand, it discredits him because he's not taking other candidates seriously. But if he shakes your hand, that means you're taking it seriously, and you'll be able to talk to him then. So that's the plan. So they get this bus and everything. They counter his speech where he's like talking on one side, and he show up and you're like, hey, what's up, my dude? You know, man, you're being a real hypocrite right now. Like, you are doing some real shady stuff. Like, you want to get around all these gray zones, but you're operating in a gray zone. It's real weird, isn't it? And like everyone's like, yeah, it is real weird. But also, like, there's people in like the audience that are just like people you know and like allies of yours. So like, yeah, Ichiban, yeah. Then the media gets on and they're like, oh, this Ichiban guy, oh. And he's like, oh, let me come over there and shake your hand. And then Kumi's like, get out of here, get out of here. So that happens. And the next day you try and do the same thing, but you're able to like sneakily shake his hand, or like, oh, we're gonna go talk to you and you're buzzed now. But then Han's getting a phone call at the same time, and he's like, what's happening? Oh boy. He runs up to Ichiban's like, we have to go right now. And Ichiban's like, but I got him. And he's like, no, we have to go right now. So they learned that like the Omi has infiltrated the Seiru clan and are basically going to go after Hoshino. So they run off, and Before that, also, Aoki in his office gives Sawashiro 24 hours to kill a dude. So obviously, there's your connection. So you run off to the Seiru clan headquarters, and you see one of the captains is like been shot, and he's like, "Oh man, they came up and roughed us up. You have to go. Hoshino is in trouble." You run up to the office of Hoshino and everything. You break down the door. Sawashiro's there, just like sitting on the couch, and Hoshino has a bullet through his heart. Yep. Sawashiro, you have to fight Sawashiro eventually, and you beat him up, and then he's like, "Oh boy, let's have an info dump for you." Oh man. So the young master ordered me to kill his dad, and I was like, that was the first time I've ever disobeyed an order from him because I could not do it because Arakawa means so much to me. Like I couldn't do it. So let's learn about our Sawashiro's backstory.
Yay!
So he was a young punk.
Casually.
Knocked up a girl.
Uh-oh.
When he was like 15. They both were not ready for parenthood. And basically he says, every day we were hoping for a miscarriage so that baby wouldn't come. It's messed up.
Rude.
The baby comes and they're like, we have to get rid of this kid because we can't take care of this kid. We do not have the means to take care of this kid. So he comes up with the idea of putting it in a coin locker and just leaving it. So they do that, and then they're at like the park and everything, and the girl who's the mother of the kid is like, we have to go get the kid back. We have to go. I can't do this. He's like, what do you mean? We've agreed to this. Let's go back. And he chases after her, and then once they eventually get back to the coin lockers, that's when Arakawa's punching open the coin locker to get the kid. And they're like, why is that guy doing that? Oh my god, he's opening up our locker. He's grabbed our child. What is happening? And then Sawashiro's like, oh man, I guess that's a good thing. He has our kid now. It's all cool. We don't have to worry about this anymore. We can just forget about it. It's all good. So they hang out there for like a little bit, and then some dudes show up who are kind of dressed like, a little bit flashier. They're like, oh, okay, which locker is it? Which locker is it? Oh, here we go. Here, we found it. Open up the locker. They pull out another baby.
Baby.
And they're like, oh, I guess the handoff didn't happen, which is a shame. And then they're like, yeah, this is the kid Akane had, and Akane is the name of the girl that Arakawa was with way back when. And Sawashiro basically realizes like, oh, that dude was looking for his own kid and took our kid. Uh-oh. A few years later, Sawashiro was like walking through Kamurocho. He finds Arakawa, who's now made his own family and everything, and there's a kid being wheeled around, and that's Sawashiro's kid. So he's like, I gotta join this Yakuza family and I want to figure out who this guy is, and also I want to be able to find a way to get close to my kid. Of course, that means that Masabi Arakawa is not Masato Arakawa's kid, but Sawashiro's kid.
Yep.
And then he's like, by the way, Ichiban, your birthday is New Year's Eve, right? This lines up timeline-wise, right? You're most likely Arakawa's kid.
Yep.
Ichiban's like, excuse me?
Yep.
What do you mean? He also was like, hey, I think Ishioda's the one behind who killed Arakawa. Because it makes sense, because he's, a Naomi loyalist and everything. He probably did it, but I don't know for sure. But it would make sense. And then our Sawashiro's like, all right, you have to turn yourself in now. We're gonna leave you for the cops. So like, yeah, so he gets taken off by the cops and everything, and they're like, they question basically afterwards, like, why was he so kind of like regretful? Why did he do this big old info dump and everything? Why would he do all this? And they're like, maybe he was just waiting for you to try and stop him outright, and you were just too late. He just wanted you to not be able to do that, or he wanted you to stop him from doing all this. And Ichiban's like, regrets.
Regrets.
Penultimate chapter time. We're finally winding down. 2 hours in. Like I said, there's a lot to the story. A lot.
I mean, so in the last game we had throwing babies in the ocean. Now we have throwing babies in the coin
Two
locker.
babies in the coin lockers.
Two babies in the coin lockers. They're coin locker pals. Except for one of them sucks. Real bad. He has fancy hair though.
He does have fancy hair.
But just because you have fancy hair doesn't mean you get to be an.
It's true. Let's see here. So Ichiban obviously is like a little like out of it after
Shook.
everything that's happened. He's like, oh man, this is a lot to take in. But he realizes he has to settle things with the young master and everything. So he tries to find Kume again at the Bleach Japan office, and they get ambushed by the Tokyo Omi Alliance. There's this dude in front of it he's like trying to get information out of, and he's just angry. So he's real mad. And he's just like, this dude's like, I don't know what to tell you. I've told you everything I know. And Ichiban's like, that's not good enough. It's just like punching him and punching him and punching him. And then this dude just comes in and like holds his arm back. It's Kiryu.
Da-ba-bum.
He's like, what the heck are you doing? What are you doing? Why are you doing this? He's like, he has information I need. I have to get this information. Like, Kiryu's like, well, I have information for you, but I don't think I'm going to give it to you now because of what you're doing. Ichiban's like, what do you mean? Give it to me. And Kiryu's like, you're not being level-headed. If you were level-headed right now, you would be able to see the avenues in front of you. But right now, you're just focused on your anger, and you can't do that in this line of work. You can't be like that right now. There are things you need to figure out. So, I'm going to be somewhere, later tonight. If you want to come, show up, and maybe I'll give you that information. Till then, stop being an idiot.
Yep.
Ichiban's like, yeah, I guess. So you go to the Korean Mafia hideout, and Kiryu's there. And he's like, yep, I'll give you this information, but first, we're going to fight. We're going to have a fight first. Let me rip off my jacket. And Ichiban's like, I can do that too.
I cannot believe that this is a whole thing.
This is a staple of the series.
I cannot believe, they just touch their shoulder and, the entire top half of their outfit just rips off.
Yeah, rules.
If there's a shirt, if there's a jacket, if there's a tie, all gone. I'm just like, how?
Also, when Kiryu leaves you after that encounter in the street, he passes by Han, and he's like, you look familiar. And Han's just like, yeah, it's probably someone's very similar. Maybe a case of mistaken identity. And Kiryu's just like, all right, okay, cool. There's a scene in Aoki's office where the police commissioner, Horinochi, shows up, and Aoki's like, oh, it wasn't me, and Hoshino's death totally didn't do anything. By the way, you're going to have to keep working for me because of stuff. That's the way this works, because I'm power hungry. Then the Ichiban and his crew, they go to meet up with Kiryu and everything. You beat up Kiryu. Not really, but you beat him up enough to where he's like, okay, I understand. You've proven your worth to me.
You're good now.
Let me tell you about Aoki's next move. So they go into the base of operations where Sungwee's there, and they're like, here's some video footage and everything. Here's some information. We will tell you this. Also, Ichiban passes out after the fight, and takes him a while to wake up. And then they're like, okay, cool, now you're fine. So yeah, you get that information and everything. And I think at one point, they also get a tip off that there's an assassin coming out for Sawashiro because they think he's going to spill information to the cops. So we have to figure out a way to stop that and everything. And then Sungwee's like, oh, maybe you could tell them who you are, Kiryu. And Kiryu's like, nope, I am a person who's not supposed to be here. I am a dead person, essentially. If people outside of this knew I was working with you guys, that would be big trouble for me. And I do not want to let people I care about be put in danger because of that. So we'll just keep it at this.
I'm a guy, and that's all you need to know.
I am a guy. So eventually you find this one building where, what's his face? what is his face? Ishioda. He's there. He's walking into that building. Also, they learned that like, oh, there's a mysterious assassin called Mirror Face who's with him, and they're gonna hire him to kill Sawashiro. So they go into the building and they fight their way through, and they have to fight Ishioda. But also, we find Mirror Face who's dressed up as a Dachi. They're like, which one's a Dachi? And Ichiban's like, all right, what's the penal code or what's the traffic laws for this? And the one guy recites it perfectly, and the other one's like, this. And then eventually he punches the one who was reciting it perfectly, and Saiko's like, why would you punch him?
Why you do that one?
And Ichiban's like, Adachi wouldn't know that stuff. What are you talking about? So you eventually fight those guys, and you basically try and interrogate Ishioda and be like, you killed Arakawa, didn't you? And he's like, no, I didn't. It wasn't me. And then a bomb goes off.
Yep.
Kaboom.
We see on the outside that a guy was ordered to by Butthole McGee.
Mm-hmm. And then they also learned that Tendo is the one that killed Arakawa.
Yes.
Jingle jangle indeed. Final day of campaigns are happening. Kume's off doing his thing. He's like, blah, 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 blah.
He's on his bus, and Creeper Dude's downstairs like, I get weird vibes with that girl in him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yes, he's kind of a leader of a cult at this point.
Oh, yeah, definitely. but she doesn't know that.
No, it's just real creepy between the two of them.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like that power dynamic.
But yeah, in Kamurocho, Aoki shows up to help campaign with one of the dudes there and has a talk. You see this dude who's like in like just all like hooded up and everything with a megaphone and a bag shows up, and then when Aoki gets on the stage and everything, he's like, oh yes, thank you and everything, hello. And this dude wheels off his coat and everything, pulls up his megaphone, is like, oh hello Governor Aoki, it is me, Ichiban. And he's like, excuse me, you're supposed to be blown up? So Ichiban jumps up onto the van and everything and shakes his hand. It's like, yes, let's have a shake here. let's talk about this. I'm going to you up. Also, by the way, we found a recording that you giving Sawashiro the order to kill Arakawa. Man, that's real weird. You should probably find that in the Millennium Tower, because man, we're gonna go find it as well. It's a real shame as that came to light and we leaked it to the media. And Aoki's like, you totally don't have that. And Ichiban's like, I don't know. Maybe I do. Maybe I don't. You should probably do something about that.
Who's to say?
So Ichiban leaves and everything. They meet up with their contact in Kamurocho, which is Nick, who found them a place to stay, which is at basically the bar that Kiryu used as a hangout through like most of the Yakuza games. Adachi's like, hey, by the way, I have an old friend who's going to show up. He's going to relay us some information. It's all cool. That is Makoto Date, who's also another older character from the Yakuza games, one of Kiryu's allies as well. They're like, yeah, you can use this place as a safe house. It's cool. Date looks at like Ichiban and is like, you reminded me of an old friend of mine. To reference Kiryu and all that sort of stuff. And then the next day you head off to the Millennium Tower. Nick calls Ichiban and is like, yeah, I'll keep tabs on you. I will, I have people live streaming what you're doing, so I'll make sure I know what's happening and everything. So don't worry. If anything bad happens, I have your back. So basically you have to fight your way through the Millennium Tower and all this sort of stuff. Also, they know Tendo's there because he got ordered by Aoki to tear down the Arakawa office to find that recording.
Mm-hmm.
And then Tendo's also like, yeah, you're kind of, you're eventually going to need me more than I need you, so, or the other way around. And, this dynamic we have right now isn't going to work, I think, going forward. So we're going to have to figure something out about this. Eventually you fight your way back up to the top where the Arakawa family office is, and Nintendo's there, and he's like, oh, I was ordered to find this recording and I can't find it. And Ichiban's like, yeah, it doesn't exist. LOL. Then you have to fight Tendo, which is a long fight.
It was a very long fight.
Because he has multiple stages of stuff he can do, or there's one.
And some of them are like an instant kill.
Yeah, that part sucked.
Yeah, it does.
After the fight, there's a cut to this place where they're giving the election results, and they see all the people that Aoki basically backed were winning pretty single-handedly, and Aoki's like, oh, let's give a speech and everything. But then there's a a thing pops up behind him, and it's like, Ryo Aoki has been has a warrant out for his arrest in a murder case. And everyone's like, what? And then Nick gets up from his seat and is like, oh, Governor, can you comment on these murder accusations? Can you give us a comment on this? It's real strange. Why are you running away? Why are you all scared? Were you involved with the murder of Arakawa? Are you a member of the Arakawa family? And he's like, oh, I gotta go. And Nick's like, oh, why aren't you saying anything? Why are you pushing me away? So obviously Aoki has to run back to the Millennium Tower. He calls Horinoichi up and is like, what is this warrant thing? Why is this a thing? What are you guys doing? And Horinoichi's like, I don't know what you guys are talking about. We're looking into it, but I don't know what to tell you.
He's like, yeah, I don't think it's gotten out of that room, so like it shouldn't be a big deal. Or is that printed anywhere out of that room? He's like, yeah, but that was live stream, so like
it's out there.
It's everywhere now. Thanks.
He tells he's like, get my best dudes. We're going to the Millennium Tower. We need to figure out what's happened. And also Tendo's not answering his phone, so I don't know what's going on. So they get there, and Tendo's like just sitting on the desk. Everyone's laid out, and he's like, yeah, that was a bluff and everything. They pulled one over on us, and now he's like, we need to make sure everyone that is involved with this is done. We're gonna get rid of these guys. We're gonna kill them. And then Ichiban, like, he's like looking at Ichiban, and he wakes up and is like, hey, I got you good.
Like the whole time that he's doing this speech, me and you were like, oh my God, he's just digging his hole deeper.
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
Like you're verbally just saying like, let's murder all these people.
Yep. Han pops up out of the corner, is like, hey, got this all on video. I'm going to leak this on the internet. And then
I love that he's just got a cell phone like, hey, I'm filming, what up?
And then Tendo pulls out actual Tendo, and the Tendo he was talking to was Mirror Face.
Mirror Face, and I was like, holy crap, I did not expect that twist, but that's real good.
Mm-hmm.
That was real good.
So Ichiban's just like, yep, so we kind of got you now. We know what's happening. You need to stop being dumb.
Stop murdering people.
Stop being so power hungry and everything. You're just being an idiot.
Go back to being a young master.
Yeah. So you have to knock some sense into him by literally fighting him.
Yep.
Or if you're me, just German suplexing him on his head over and over and over again until he runs out of HP.
That was really funny. Well, because the thing is that you had been a musician up until that point, and then they changed your class, so you had a different move set, and that led to the suplexing.
I'm just going to suplex him on his head over and over and over again, so it's great.
It was really funny because you were just like, all right, well, time to do this over and over. I'm like, okay, he probably deserved it, honestly. He had a quick time event, too.
Mm-hmm. So you beat him up and everything, and now he's like goes on this big rant about how like he felt like he was going to change Japan. He has the power to do it now. You know, no one else understands his motives but me and everything. And Ichiban's like,
no one understands me.
Stop being an idiot. Like, you have time to change yourself. Like, you got all this power, and now you're power hungry, and you're just killing people off because they're doing things that you don't like. Stop being dumb. Like, you have the power to change yourself. You have the power to fix everything that you're doing. Stop being dumb. He tries to like just be like, you were my first friend and everything, and I want to make sure like, you don't ruin your life over everything that you're doing. Like, I just want to see the young master come back. I want to see
your family to me.
Your family to me. I want to see the old you come back. And then like, it seems like he kind of gets through to Aoki for a second, but then Aoki's like also is just out of his mind.
Yeah.
The cops show up, and Han's like, hey, here's this video where he basically ordered us to die. We have sent it out to people. It's, messed up. You're going to have to deal with this. And they're like, well, we got to
bring you in for questioning on this. And he tells a beat cop to like go get him, and beat cop goes over to him, and Aoki like pulls his gun after he like gets a piece of glass and like holds it to the guy's throat. Yeah. And uses him as a hostage and leaves.
They're like, this is going to be worse for you because you just took a police officer hostage and now you're going to go to jail.
You are making bad decisions all over the place.
And Aoki like is just like, I don't like you, Ichiban. I've always like disliked you. You're trash to me.
We're not family.
We're not family. Stop trying to meddle in my affairs. I'm out of here.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
And then gets on the elevator and bops that dude on the head.
Yeah, he bops him on the head and runs out and basically makes his way through Kamurocho. There's a video of him ordering the deaths of Ichiban and his crew that's just looping on various video screens around Kamurocho.
He's just like beat to crap, like staggering through the city.
He basically stumbles upon the coin lockers where obviously that's his origin and everything, and then
His origin story.
Ichiban shows up. And Aoki points the gun at him. Basically he's like points a warning shot at him, and everyone's like, oh my god, it's a real gun.
Yeah, I love like the people in the background that are just like, nope, absolutely not, I'm out.
Aoki tells him about the girl that he used to like and everything, that went off and was actually with the cop and everything, and he was like, I went to like this event a few years after I came back, and she was there. Didn't know who I was though, but she was just like, oh, you're very, cleaned up, and you're very intelligent now and you're very intelligent and everything. And he's just like, that's what she would say to me after I cleaned my act and everything. Like, she didn't care about me. She didn't know who I was or anything like that. And I had to sit there and take it. Oh yeah.
Boo-hoo. Boo-hoo.
So he's feeling all sad, and he's like, I'm gonna put this gun to my head. And Ichimon's like, stop being dumb. People actually cared about you, like me, like Arakawa, like Sawashiro. People actually gave a crap about you. And now you just are trying to act like no one gives a crap about you in the world, that you're just this power-hungry man and everything, and you're just going to fix everything because you have all the power and everything. But that's not how this works.
I appreciated, and we talked about this, I appreciated how, like, they allowed Ichiban in the story to get so emotional at this point.
Like, he just breaks down.
He breaks down, like he's begging at this point, and I mean he's really just putting it all out there of like he cares, he's crying, like I loved it. I thought it was a really cool thing that they did.
Same, because like
you don't see that.
It's not something you would see Kiryu do either. So like it's again another difference between like those two as protagonists. But like yeah, it's really good they let him just be super emotional in that moment, because obviously like that's just the way his character would be. Eventually he's able to like get through to Aoki, and Aoki kind of lowers the gun and everything. He's like, yeah, let's start at rock bottom and start over and fix everything. They put the gun in the locker and everything, and then his symbolic Aoki's secretary phones him up and is like, where have you been? Things are bad. And he's like, I'm gonna have to turn myself in. You're gonna have to find a new job and everything. Sorry, it's my bad. And then Aoki and Ichiban are about to leave, but then Kume like runs up and just shanks him in the side. I don't know how. It's like a lower abdomen wound, so like I still think it's survivable. Yeah, but also he did just get beat up and everything a lot, so I don't know. Who knows exactly? But Kume's like, you betrayed the cause and everything. I can't let you walk away from this. Like, why would you do this? You were my mentor and everything. Can't believe you would do this. All right, bye. You were the chosen one. Basically, Ichiban's like, oh god, oh god, oh god, oh god. He's like yelling to try and get help, and man. So I think that's like credits roll. Yes. Post credits, we see Adachi on top of the police office building in Kamurocho. He meets up with Horinoichi, and he's like, hey, I got this USB flash drive. It's got all this like information about who was on the Arakawa family payroll. Real interesting. Oh man, you were on this. Real interesting. It's a shame that I'm going to give this information to people. Oh wait, I've already given this information to people. Oh, I gave it to the commissioner of the police. Oh man, you're in trouble now. Let me just throw my middle fingers up at you and everything, basically. So that dude Adachi finally gets his revenge against that dude and everything, and he gets dragged out by the other cops. And Adachi's like going to go ask him about something, but he's just like, nah, I don't need to gloat about this, whatever. You go back to Yokohama, and you learn from Namba that Sawashiro is going to get a life sentence and everything. Aoki died without realizing that Sawashiro was his dad or anything. died without knowing that Ichiban possibly is his dad. And Nama's like, do you want to get a DNA test and figure things out? And Ichiban is like, nah, I've had 2 dads. It's fine. The dude who ran the soap land in Arakawa, those are my dads. It's cool. It's whatever. That's what I'll know. They go to the funeral home. They attend Arakawa's funeral. Dojima, Watashi, Majima, Saejima are all there. Dojima and Watashi are like, yeah, so we're going to go make a security firm in Osaka. You know, if you guys want to join up and help with us. Like, Arakawa was gonna help us with his business and everything, but, you know, things have happened. So, like, if you guys want to join up with us, you are free to do so. And Ichiban's like, you know, I appreciate it, but I'm going to have to decline your offer. You know, this is my home now. This is where I belong. This is where my crew is. Outside the funeral home, like, the rest of the crew shows up, and they're like, oh, what'd he say? What'd he say? And they're like, oh, this is what he said and everything. They're like, they basically kind of make fun of him or give him a little grief for having, like, this emotional speech about wanting to stay there and everything. And he kind of just, like, walks off and just, like, you know, hangs out by the bridge and just looks off and is, like, you know, reminisces about what Aoki said to him right before he died, which is about, like, you know, starting over at rock bottom and everything. And that's how the game ends.
Yep. We didn't talk at all about the summons, though.
The summons are good. The pound mates.
The pound mates are great.
Which, of course, it's a Yakuza game, so they're very ridiculous. So, like, once you meet, like, the former Yakuza characters, you get to use them. So, like, you can have Kiryu just show up out of nowhere, or Majima show up out of nowhere. But then also, there's just, like, what if you had a cat show up?
We've got a crawfish.
What if you recreated a Korean drama?
Yeah, like, they recreated Winter Sonata. It's so funny.
Well, they didn't show there was one that that wasn't in that video. There's one where there's like a little girl who asks for donations.
Oh my god.
And then you get more money when you do that summon.
Nice.
So good. Yeah, the summons are fantastic in this game. Like, they're real goofy and good. But yeah, that is the story of Yakuza. I really like the story. Like I said, I love Ichiban as a character. He's really good. I like the way they, like, this is obviously a continuation of the Yakuza story, obviously, because, you know, it takes place after the events of 6. The events of 6 in previous games are referenced very heavily and everything. And obviously the dissolution of the Omi Alliance and the Tojo clan leaves things in a very interesting spot for if they do another one of these games. Which I think you could, like, there's definitely some stuff that is left out in the open for this, where, like, you know, Ichiban and his crew can do some other stuff, like, what's up with Kume? Where is he after murdering Aoki? Like, I feel like that would be some unfinished business and everything. There's going to be stragglers from the Tokyo Omi Alliance that will probably be out there and about. So there's a lot of, like, I think there's threads that definitely could potentially be told in another game. And I would definitely be excited to see more of Ichiban and the crew. And I think the way they utilize, like, the past characters as well is very good. Because, like, they show up and shine, but they don't, like, overshine everyone else. Like, a lot of this had me thinking of a certain game called Apollo Justice Ace Attorney, where
what a great game.
Where I was like, man, what if that game was similar to this, where, like, the way Kiryu shows up is just, like, very much like, I'm going to help you with this, like, these 2 things, and then I'm out of your hair. Like, I'm not going to overstay my welcome as the former protagonist. Like, this is your game. This is your story. And, like, I'll help you with this little thing, and then that's it. I'm good. Rushing my hands at this. Like, what if they did that in the same way in the Apollo Justice, where, like, Phoenix Wright just, like, shows up very rarely and is like, I'll help you with these 2 things, like, maybe in the last case, and that's basically it.
What I would have preferred is, like, Apollo Justice could stay the same as it is, but everything past that, like, Apollo is the protagonist.
Yeah, I think that would also be
Phoenix can show up every once in a while and can, like it was in this one, that he just showed up as, like, hey, I can give you some advice, and then, like, I'm gone.
Like, it's like
I feel like that's what should have happened with Phoenix.
Yeah, especially, like, as the player, you're like, oh yeah, it's the former protagonist, yay! But he's not here to, like, you know, outshine everyone else. He's not here to be like, oh, this is my game now, or something like that. Like, no, he's just like, you know, I'm here to show up for a little bit. I have like, I'm not supposed to be here, so obviously I can't really stay, but, you know, I'll help you out, and then I will peace out.
Yeah.
So I think that's cool. Yeah, I love the story. I think like we talked about earlier on, like there's some weirdness with like the way it handles some politics and stuff like that. Where it has like this weird like dissension within itself that it doesn't quite line up with each other in the way that it probably should. But a lot of the main plot, like I'm a sucker for melodramatic crime drama, so and the Yakuza games deliver on that front, and just always. So like this is really good, and especially as a game that it's a new story. It's a continuation, but also mostly a new story in this long winding franchise. Like it's a really good like starting point for something new.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like it's also just like a good way for like new people to kind of hop in and see what's up with the series, who have basically been like, I want to get into the series, but like there's 7 games and there's a lot of stuff to deal with. Like I don't know if I can play through all these games. Like this kind of gives you a mostly clean slate of a new story, new characters and everything. Like obviously there's the references to the main franchise as a whole, but like even if you don't know that, I don't think this would basically hinder your experience. Like obviously, I mean, you saw the back half of this game and you were still like pretty captivated by it. So, and you didn't have like, that knowledge of like, oh, this is this character. So, but it's like, you can come into this with like no previous knowledge of these games and still find something good out of it.
Correct.
Yeah. Like I said, it's going to be hard come game of the year to figure out what's the better JRPG of this year.
Dun dun dun.
That is going to be a very tough choice. But we'll figure that out in a month or so.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else that I'm forgetting that you think I should talk about, or are we good? Because I'm also very tired of talking for 2.5 hours.
No, we're good. I can't think of anything.
Yeah. This game's great. If you, like I said, the switch to JRPG does not affect this game in the slightest, and like it's a very interesting change that I think benefits this game specifically in a multitude of different ways. But yeah, that's going to wrap this episode up.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you would like more from us, go to seasonalcheckup.com or sac.cool, where you can find past episodes of this podcast and other podcasts like Seasonal Checkup and Jared Now Watch. You can also find columns and reviews on the site as well. If you want more from Anladium, go to anladium.com. She's got columns and reviews. Follow us on Twitter, twitter.com/animecheckup. You can buy our books, One Shining Moment, A Critical Analysis of Love, Life, Sunshine, and Hot Tubs and Pac-Man on Amazon.com right now. Did I say Twitter? I don't remember if I said Twitter.
I don't remember if you said Twitter.
Twitter.com/animecheckup. If I didn't say it, I'll probably be like, oh man, you said that, you dummy, when I go to edit this. And you can support us on Patreon, patreon.com/SACOVA. Buy us a slice of pizza, get access to unedited versions of the podcast, bonus episodes, whole bunch of stuff on there. Fun stuff all together. Next week, we got a schedule for y'all.
Yeah.
Next week, happy December next week.
Wow,
the last month of the year. So next week, we are going to break down Season 1 of Love Live School Idol Festival All-Stars. Maybe some other stuff, depending on how that goes, maybe.
Yeah, depending on how I finish things.
Well, yeah, it may turn into a grab bag, or we may just we may push those to another episode. Who knows?
Yeah.
So that'll be next week. The week after that is our annual preview event for the next year, which is going to be interesting. I think this is also going to, of course, be our annual tradition of, let's see here, as I wait for Google to load. Google load. I'm out of my mind because I've been talking for 2.5 hours. Why is this taking so long? Oh, yes, of course. This will, we'll do this before the Game Awards, so we'll miss out on some announcements because that's the way these always goes.
That's the way we do it.
The Game Awards aired the Thursday of that week, and we will obviously record Tuesday. So yeah, the 12th of December will be our preview episode for 2021, where we talk about games, anime, all sorts of media that we are into and are looking forward to in the coming year. The 19th of December will be our annual Christmas episode.
Yay!
And we've got a doozy of a Christmas episode for you.
Yeah, we just figured out what we were going to do.
We did. And then the 26th of December, the final episode of the year, will be Game of the Year. who will take home the crown as the best game in a very bizarre year.
No kidding. Oof.
So we'll figure all that stuff out, yeah. And then probably the week after the first episode of the year might be a grab bag episode of some stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is our schedule for the next month or so. So look forward to all those episodes. For now, I'm going to not talk.
Yay.